Yo, what's going on, everyone? It's Brian and Jim here with Drink a Beer and Play a Game, and welcome to another episode of the Power Hour.
Welcome to episode 99, closing out the first century of these goddamn episodes. So not only are we closing out the first 100 episodes this week, we're also going to close out 2020. So we haven't gotten to it yet, but when you close out a baseball game, you need a closer. So we brought in our closer for this. He plays way more games during the course of a year than we do. And you know him from last year. He's a returning guest. We know him as Dan. You guys know him as Blade Blur. Blade, how you doing, man? Thanks for coming on.
I am on the final installment of the double digits. That's amazing. I can put on my CV, and companies are going to be like, pretty impressive, yes.
That's right.
Yeah.
Do not put
Everyone
us...
knows the podcast.
You'll never get hired again if you put us as a reference, for the love of God.
I think I'm going to get too many proposals, but joking aside, everything is going well. You know, it's getting darker right now in California. There's actually rain, which is nice, so I do appreciate whatever rain we can get. And,
What?
yeah, well, I mean, it's California. I mean, don't expect a lot of rain a lot of the time. And, just keep on gaming, basically.
Nice.
So before we get going, please, for the love of God, plug away. Plug your socials, plug your channels, because you do YouTube, you do Twitch, you do it all.
Well, I mean, it's kind of funny because 2020 for myself has been kind of a busier year than usual, so I didn't have a chance to do as much YouTube stuff that I wanted to do. But if you always want to check out my YouTube just for my archive and whatever videos I'm gonna have planned, a top 10 of 2020, go to youtube.com/BladeBlur and as well as twitch.tv/BladeBlur, which I also plan to do a lot more streaming in the future. And of course, I would love to have both of you guys in sometime because you are my YouTube family,
Absolutely, bud.
And it sounds like fun to us.
Yeah,
And-
cue the awe right now from the audience.
Yeah, Bri, get on it, edit boy.
Jim, just every time you talk, I'm going to have it go, map, map.
Or
I can actually see that going forward.
The trombone.
Yeah. Yep. Bum, 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 bum.
Yes, I knew you were going to go with the trombone fat guy from Family Guy.
I
knew
didn't
it.
even say it that
Yeah,
time.
I know what you did. You said that. You did the tune. That tune is from there. It sounds like it's a different tune.
Jim, what are you talking about?
Stop it!
So, Blade, before we get into the games of 2020, is there anything right now you're actively just playing for fun, or maybe for a video? What's in your catalog right now?
Well, good question. Just as of yesterday, I finally got around to finishing Ghost of Tsushima after playing it for a lot of time, mostly because the fact that I had to send my PS5 for repair, and when I got my PS5 back, I actually lost my original save, which was about 18 hours long. So I had to basically play all the way up to that point and then, of course, finish the game. But I guess it goes to show that I really liked that game if I wasn't deterred of actually going back to it, despite this whole save fiasco. And I also got my platinum trophy in it, so yay!
Yeah, I was gonna say when you say finish, you don't mean normal person finish.
I'm not a normal person. I think I kind of established that at this point.
Fair.
No, but
Yeah.
I just so happen, to do all the side quest stuff as I'm also playing through the story. I'm the kind of person that if they give me a list of side quests and the main story, I kind of do all the side quests and then just save the finale of the tale at the very end. Just so it feels like I just finished everything. And then, of course, there's all those, straggler missions at the very end. Visit this place and play your flute so you get a trophy. Just so I can finally, close this book.
Yeah, it's funny. Jim and I have said we're very big. Well, definitely used to be more. I'm not as much, but I'm big on doing the side quests and completionist. And I'll tell you what series always got me were the Fallout games, because there'd always be that point where it's all right, if you start down this track, you can't reverse it, and there's going to be 4 different endings. So you always save at that point, go through, beat it, and then have to reload, go through and beat it, and just keep doing it over and over. I like it.
Actually, if I'm not mistaken, you said Fallout 4 was in your top 20, right?
Oh yeah, yeah.
So that's your favorite Fallout.
Yep, yeah, for sure.
Okay, yeah, because here's the thing, like I'm actually a Fallout noob, so I barely played those games, but I played the first couple like hours of 4, and I'm not saying it was a bad game. It's more like, wait, what is this system? What am I doing here? Like I didn't get like a proper tutorial to kind of warm me up to how the game works, so I kind of deserted it, unfortunately. But I hope one day to go back to it because after I played Outer Worlds, I think I'm actually now more open to those Fallout-like games.
Yeah, if you went back, Fallout 3 is what set up the system that they have. So if you went back, did that, you would understand it. Like in Fallout
Yeah.
New Vegas, introduced a few mechanics that spilled over into 4. But yeah, 4, it is true, they don't do the best job, like understanding vets and understanding like all the little intricacies. If you're brand new to it, it can be overwhelming for sure.
Yeah, and it's not like I just want to like drop games when I start them. I actually really want to play something, but
Yeah.
sometimes the most important thing with a game is that the intro is supposed to hook you, and if the intro doesn't do that, unfortunately, I drop off. It happened to me also with like Red Dead 2, which I also really wanted to love Red Dead 2, but the gameplay just didn't captivate me, and it sucks because I keep hearing from people how amazing the story is, but I guess I'm more of a gameplay kind of person. I want to make sure that I have an amazing story, but also great gameplay to go together. Isn't that weird?
Well, at least you appreciate story, unlike some.
I can appreciate a good story. I just don't
No,
need
you
it.
can't. No,
I appreciate good stories, damn it.
You've always preferred the Blue Beetle and DC over Batman.
Goddamn right. He's the little underdog guy. He has character. He has to think of more clever ways to get over stuff. Fuck off.
All right, Jim. Well, speaking of games and your lack of enjoying good stories, what have you been playing?
Actually, it's funny he's talking about not getting gripped immediately because I'm kind of going through that right now with I started playing Shantae and the Seven Sirens. So I've never gotten into the Shantae series before, so I was like, I bought it on limited run a while ago, and I was like, all right, let me finally get into this. And I'm just like, fuck. It's one of these like adventure platformers. Because like the entire opening of the game is just text, 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 text. Talk to this character, talk to this character, go back and forth. And until you've like you're sitting through like 15 minutes of dialogue before you're finally just like doing the first minor bits of platforming, just like the littlest bits that you can. So I almost like turned it off at that point, but I'm gonna give it a college try. I'm gonna give it a go.
I know you, and I'm looking at this game. What the hell or who convinced you to start that game?
Because everyone talks about how good Shantae is. If you're in like the retro circles and shit like that,
Yeah.
so
That's fair.
So it's kind of like the first time you tried cigarettes. You got peer pressure into doing what the cool kids are doing.
no one forced me into it. But I was like, all right, let me see what this is all about. And I was like, oh god, like it immediately gave me those like, because I never got into like Wonder Boy and Monsterland or those games like that because it's the same thing. Like it's a lot before you really get into the action. It's a lot of go around town, talk to people to get your mission before you can do all that shit. And not even in like the Zelda 2-way where it kind of gets into it quicker. This is just so much like text heavy. So
And that kind of relates to what I was talking about with Fallout 4 earlier. There should be a balance that needs to be stricken, that the player needs to get some kind of idea what to do, but on the other hand, don't just burden them with like mounds of like tutorials and like walls of text, because that's just downright overwhelming.
yeah, but like the sound design's good, the voice acting's pretty good, the graphics are great. So I'll give it a shot. I'll try to put at least an hour in before I say, if I'm just going to quit out or not. I hope I like it, but if I don't, I don't.
Honestly, I think that every time like I'm playing a game and a game hooks me like from the get-go, it like already gets like a point in my scale just for that, because very few games nowadays manage to do it, and that's kind of sad.
Yeah, that's very true. And then I was also playing a little bit of Jay and Silent Bob Mall Brawl. So,
Ooh, what's that?
based on Jay and Silent Bob, it's an old school throwback 8-bit beat 'em up kind of game. Think of like River City Ransom, but like think of like River City Ransom with like a lot of Kevin Smith, what do you call it, fan service in it.
Was he a part of that at all?
I think a little bit, but I think they were basically making the game and then they like kind of got the license from him, so they based a story, the quote unquote story around that. So
Yeah. Now, do they at least have the voiceovers by Jason Mewes and
There's no voiceover in it.
Oh, is it just like tech, like you
8-bit,
said,
so-
8-bit? So
Yeah.
yeah.
Because they had a stretch goal to make a version of it for the NES too. So I guess they had to make it cross playable on that. But there's also like a version of it that's going to be like super updated graphics that should be coming out too. But yeah, I don't know. But this one, yeah, it's definitely pure throwback kind of action.
Tell me that one of the first bosses are the clerks.
No, the clerks aren't the first bosses. Like the early things are all based around mall rats, mall brawl, mall rats. So like, you had the guy with like the straw hat and like you fight the shit covered pickle. Basically, they made a Bobo into not the pickle, the pretzel.
The pretzel, yeah.
Yeah, they call him a Dobo. I was like, all right, clever. So I'm actually stuck right now on their version of the turbo tunnel, and it's fucking hard as goddamn hell. So it's the end of stage 3, and it's driving me goddamn batty, but I'm trying to get through it.
Is that on the Switch, you said?
Yeah, it's on the Switch. I think it's on everything at this point on the eShops, but
I think I gotta get that.
yeah, if you see it
right
on
up
sale,
my
get
alley.
it.
Yeah.
Would you rate the game a snooch out of nooch?
Actually, every time you beat a stage, it says snooch to the nooch, and they go, yeah!
Damn it, Jim.
So yeah, it's pure fan service kind of deal.
Yeah, I kind of really want to watch the cartoon, the animated series that came out like 2 decades ago. It was really good.
I watched that ages ago. It's been forever since I did, though.
Yeah.
High school was like that real hardcore Jan Saw Bob Air for me.
The View Askew era. Yeah.
Pretty much.
Yeah, I all of my time the time I have, which isn't a bunch this past week, was all dedicated to, like I said, I got hard into the Total War Warhammer games, and I'm in the second one, and I'm many hours already into that. That thing it's crazy. And as I predicted, Jim, I said it's a good thing I didn't know about Warhammer and that shit before, but I've had other games from Xbox Gold and Pass. One of the games I think it's called like Vermintide or Vermintide.
Oh, yeah.
That is made by it's basically Left 4 Dead, but in that universe. And it's like actually looks really cool. It's got great reviews. So I'm like, oh, that'll be a fun first person shooter for me to try too. But yeah, this whole week has just been that game. So coming up this week, I have a game from Jim that I'm going to be diving into. And for those of you who know, by the time you're watching this, the end of this week, there's going to be another Patreon review out. And Jim's already spilled the beans on one of the games that will be coming. But Donkey Kong 64.
Ooh.
Jim had some problems with it, and he's dropped it off with me. So I can't wait to bash my head against the ground.
It made me motion sick.
And luckily, next week is the end of my dry month, and I cannot wait to drink so stupidly on the podcast next week.
Yeah, next week's just gonna be a drunk. It's gonna be a drunk shit show. So
It really is.
don't expect quality, but expect entertainment.
We'll call it a statuary.
Yeah, right.
Oh, I like that.
Ooh.
But yeah, and I have a feeling when I really dive into Donkey Kong, I'm gonna need to be having a beer next to me the whole time. So can't wait.
I can't help but looking at Donkey Kong literally in your frame when you were talking about him.
He's like staring at him. He's just
I kind of had to put it up, this fucker.
Play my game?
But he's dead eyeing him though. He's like, you know what you're gonna get. You know what's happening.
I may just light him up with like my knives and bows and stuff, like just while he's there, just as the game goes on.
Collect everything,
But yeah, that will lead us perfectly into obviously not drinking this week again. So Flyers are back. Been drinking out of this cup this week. And Jim, what do you got?
Well, this week I am drinking from the big from Sasquatch Brewing, the party. Or wait, hold on. Party. I'm
Try it
again.
again.
I should have done prep. God damn it.
Just be able to read.
I've been done. Okay, so this is the Party Like a Sasquatch Alone Bigfoot Porter. Comes to us 5.1% alcohol by volume, 40 IBUs. From blah, 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 blah. Yakima, Washington, by Hop Capital Brewing Company.
Huh. Definitely never heard of it. Interesting, that 70s color palette can.
Yep. It looks like my parents' bathroom's wallpaper.
Jim, it looks like the streaks in your pants.
Wow, from yellow all the way to brown. It's like perfect.
Like
There's
a
the
swatch
there's
for
the there's the
that.
bloodier parts where the PBR was.
Damn it, Jim.
Oh, I had vegetables that day. But
Son of a bitch.
yeah, so
Oh my
it's
god.
definitely a
So-
porter. Tons of head. Like the head was like up to here when I first
Yeah.
poured a little bit, and
saw
then
that.
I've been waiting for it to go down. Super smooth so far. Like actually ridiculously smooth right now.
Is
Like,
it
this
really
kind-
light?
It's light. It's really light for
Yeah.
a porter.
Yeah. That's been more and more popular, especially at craft beers. The porters have been getting like, they used to be not as thick as stouts, but they used to have a little more body, and now they're like, I'm not calling them session, but they're really thin for a porter. So
Yeah, like I'm probably going to pound this down way quicker than I normally would with any porter.
yeah,
Yeah, you get that little bit of like coffeeness at the end on the aftertaste. Not too big of an immediate like mouth taste. It's almost just kind of like it's just like, oh, I have water in my mouth, and then like you get it all in the aftertaste.
nice.
Not a lot of mouthfeel to it, but slight bitterness at the end. But it's good.
And what about you, Blade? I know I saw a water bottle, but
Yeah, I was going extreme today, and I was drinking a whole bottle of water. Because, sometimes I'm even more on the edge, and I put a little bit of lemon inside, just so you know. I think I'm cool.
listen, don't go down that extreme path. Then you're gonna move on to limes, and then who knows?
I know, I'm already ruining my Goody Two-Shoes image already. I mean, I need to make sure I am on the straight path. I can't... I have an image to preserve.
We're happy to ruin it today.
What if it was all the ruin in the first place?
We have partied with him before. We know his
Yeah.
deep dark side.
Yep. That- All right, so
Fucking
Chambers-
nice guy Blur becomes even nicer guy when he has a couple beers in him.
Yeah,
You are nice.
yeah.
That's kind of it.
Oh, nice.
That's actually exactly.
He was like, I am so glad for hanging out. I was like,
Yeah.
And Jim just becomes a sleepy Bobo.
yes, I do. Pee in the thing, get lost, go home, cry. But
Same
yes,
for me, just not that order.
nah, it's always a toss-up. Just put it in a jar and shake it, and it'll wind up one of those
Sometimes I
ways.
cry while I'm sleeping, and then I wake up. It's like, oh, why is it so wet?
You too? Only I'm wet in the lower spots.
Damn it, Jim.
Sometimes it's sticky.
Damn.
Patreon.com/DrinkABeerandPlayAGame, where for as little as $2 a month, you can ask a question that we will answer on each and every one of these Power Hour podcasts. So, first up, from Eric Lewacki, your favorite top 10 YouTube clickbait channel, Looper or Watch Mojo? God damn specific.
That is specific. I mean, because I've never specifically heard of Looper. I've gone down the Watch Mojo rabbit hole too many times where, like, I just see one top 10 and then it just so happens, and I know it's the algorithms. I'm like, oh, that one could be interesting. Then that one. Then that one. So, yeah, I'm a sucker for Watch Mojo.
Blade?
I didn't really watch a lot of Looper, so I probably will have to say Watch Mojo just by default. But I don't really watch Mojo unless it's a topic that only they covered. Because if a bunch of other creators that I usually follow do say top 10 games of the year, I would rather watch them over Watch Mojo, because I feel like every time I watch a Watch Mojo video, it's made by a committee that they write a script, and you have the guy Halo 4 was a shooting game that was taking place in space. You could play as Master Chief and shoot a bunch of grunts in the face. It was a very fun time, especially online. It's like, I know that. It doesn't feel like it's an opinion of a person. It seems like, something I can, pick up a game and just read the blurb of the box. So I respect them for the growth that they managed to achieve throughout the years. Good on them. It's just not my preferred content intake.
Well, that's if they scripted it themselves, because they have a little bit of a reputation.
Yeah, that's true too. But they're that safe list of, yeah, you're not going to get the ironic opinion or the ironic choices. You're not going to get the ones that are
It's not like I'm making these lists.
they're not going to go super indie or a kid that just grew up on Genesis games and then 64 games.
Right.
And appreciate. It's so you're going to get the more
Mainstream.
applicable pop version of it.
Yeah.
But sometimes, they do hit them. They hit them right for if you were like, hey, I need to expose people to what the top 10 probably best N64 games are without a ton of true opinion.
Yeah, that's fair.
And so you get that generic. So I like to sometimes see that because I'm always curious, like the list we're going to talk about later. I'm kind of like,
Yeah, but there are also a lot of other creators that make stuff like, like 5 games to play if you just got an N64. So there are always options for that too.
And I love, what, I like you and I think we all appreciate personalities, and you find someone who kind of, even if you don't align with their views, if they present an interesting way and you can tell they're passionate about it, that's just as good. But yeah, like there is a place for that generic list, and I'll give them credit, man. The amount they crank out their videos, even if not all of them are their ideas, it's very
or their lists.
Very manufactured. I think that's probably the best way I can.
Yes.
Yeah,
like,
painfully
a factory,
corporate.
and there's a press machine.
Yep. Yeah, they're like, here's the list we need to get out this week. Go.
Here are the top 10 beers that Jim has drank over 2020.
Number 1 through 10, Keystone Light.
Number 1, that's a beer with a can that has like levels of like different poop.
We're starting out right. Very on brand.
How about you, Jim? I know you don't watch really YouTube. Well, you actually watch lots of YouTube, just not that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm going to stumble onto one of these, it'll probably be Watch Mojo. Like, the most, like, top 10 shit I wound up for, like, top 10 channels would be, like, WrestleMania or shit like that. Like, some random, like, wrestling thing. Or our good buddy Blade with his delightful countdowns, rounding out the best of the year. So,
I know.
which he needs to get on them. He's going to get to his 2021 by 2022 at this point.
Yeah, probably. That's the goal right now. And the only thing honestly, when I'm thinking of Looper, I would rather watch like the Ryan Johnson movie Looper at this point.
I never even heard of that like page. So like, it was like
yeah,
Looper.
me neither.
Yeah.
But no, thank you, Eric. We appreciate the question.
Yep. Next up, Gamer Astral, favorite controller ever. Ooh, well.
I feel like we've covered that a couple times.
But we also have a new generation of consoles now, so it kind of makes the field more interesting.
Favorite ever,
no
Blade. Favorite ever.
Yeah. I mean, if it's going off of my nostalgia and gut, it's either going to be probably the 360 controller or the DualShock PS controller, like that general design, especially the PS2 one. Mm-hmm. I think best design. We've covered this many times. Those two are for what they can do, and yeah, they're probably my favorites. Yep. Like Blade has in his hands.
Well, it's a PS3, but I think people get the gist.
Yeah, I mean, that honestly, I'm not picky between the design. So if someone's like, "Oh, PS3 is better than PS2," I'd just go, "Okay." Like I'm not gonna argue it.
Yeah, I don't think many argue that though. DualShock 3s are literally.
And then, Jim, can I just guess yours?
Sure.
Your stupid ass. The 6-button Sega controller.
It is my favorite, but I will say the best controller ever is the 360 one. So, like, retro, I'll say 6-button Genesis, but anything in the 3D realm and after, it'll be the 360.
And what about you, Blade?
Retro, I'll probably say 6-button, but probably Saturn. Because I think I just like the ergonomics of it just a little bit more than the Sega Genesis one, and this is coming from a Genesis guy, so... In terms of, like, more modern stuff, I have to admit that I'm not as in love with a 360 controller as much as the next guy. As I think as time went by, I think I'm becoming more and more of a PlayStation individual, I found out. And I would have said something like the DualShock 4, because I really like the upgrades that they made to it. But then this thing came along, and I'm like, new king right there, so...
I'm hearing a lot of love for the DualSense.
Envelope, done. And for the record, it's not for the reasons, like, oh, haptic feedback or adaptive triggers. Like, that's just neat little gimmicks.
Yeah.
Argument, it feels nice. And that's all I need.
I mean, that's ultimately what it should come down to.
Yeah.
And I've said, I think the PlayStation, starting with the 3, had the much better idea of being able to charge the wireless controller with your thing and not need battery packs. That was the one issue I had with 360.
And
Even though
still do,
you know,
yeah.
it's still an issue. Like I feel like they're one of the things holding up the double A battery industry along with kids toys. But it's like just move on. Like just get it charged like the PlayStation. And I have the PS3 and 4, and they lasted pretty damn long. Like I didn't notice that they die really fast either. So
No, I will give Microsoft some credit that at least in terms of like battery life, I think the Xbox controllers usually last a little bit longer than the PlayStation stuff. For what I've been noticing.
Oh yeah, when you're using the AA, they do last longer, but it's just the inconvenience. Like I've had the same rechargeable battery since I've got my 360, and it's still using them. Now those batteries are slowly dying out, but I'd say
It sucks.
It lasts me 2 weeks maybe, before I have to charge it again. I guess that's the best timetable I can give.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there is something to be said for like, say you're weirdo, like, collectors like me out there who down the line, the lithium ion batteries, like they're all just going to die out. So you're going to have to crack your controller open, like switch it out, even a brand new one. Like the batteries only have a certain shelf life. So that's like the only advantage to having a rechargeable, traditional battery pack. But I mean, for most people, they're done with the console generation. They throw it away. Like 1% of people are going to go back and use an old controller. So
yeah, that's true.
Jim's that 1%er.
God damn right. I am the wrong kind of 1%. What the fuck am I doing?
May I just give one last honorable mention in controllers?
No.
Depends what it is.
Okay.
Go ahead, you beautiful bastard.
No, go ahead.
Goodbye, everyone. GameCube. I just want to shout out the GameCube. I just think it's a classic design, and maybe I'm a little bit biased, but I really like how I wouldn't say obvious, but very distinct the A and B buttons are, especially for like platformers or like Zelda games, that everything is like focused on those two buttons. And I don't know, there's just something so charming about that controller. To this very day, it's used for stuff like Smash Brothers. Like it's never gonna die. This controller is gonna stay forever.
No, thanks to Smash, it will never die. It's not allowed to die. It'll never die.
Well, the thing is, like, it was coming off of such a terrible design, so they needed such an upgrade from the N64 controller, so it made sense, right, Jim? Jim, I had to get the little zinger.
I know you did. No, I love the GameCube controller too. Like I said, like it's awesome that like every controller has that button. It's like the main button, whether it's X or A or shit like that. So it's cool that they really spotlighted it. But it's also weird how, like, for as good as they spotlight A and B, like, X and Y are just, like, one's over here, one's up here, one, Z button over here, their second stick. Like, it's, like, a weird mishmash of, like, amazing ideas and terrible ideas all rolled into one.
The only part when I think it's terrible is for fighting games, because sometimes in fighting games, you have to press two buttons together. So something like, say, Soul Calibur, you have to use, like, B and X together, so it's like... I'll try to press those two without touching the A. It's kind of awkward.
Yeah.
And sorry, Link, I like your version. But, it's still awkward.
Spawn's better. Right. Spawn's better.
What about Heihachi?
No one likes Heihachi.
Fucking old man in diapers.
Great question, though. Thank you.
And thong.
That wasn't until 5 when that was his default for whatever goddamn reason. But next up from Game Whisperer Dean, what beer would you pair with the disappointment of realizing that latest 32X purchase was a waste of money? You motherfucking son of a...
Well, it is definitely a terrible purchase. You could just emulate the 30 games. But I would say you're going to need to really drown your pain. So you're going to go with something that has a minimum alcohol level of 11 to 12%. I'm going bourbon barrel aged. Depends where you're at. If you let me know where you're at in the country, I can let you know a more specific one because I don't know what's regional. But go with bourbon barrel aged, some kind of stout, that 11 or 12% minimum. Drown your sorrows.
All right, and I'm going to go the opposite route. I'm keeping it personal because for the most part, all the games that I have for it are games that are like actually good for the system. So with the exception of a couple, super high priced ones that are still good, everything else is trash that I'd be buying. So if I'm going to waste my money on a trash 32X game, I'll just have to drink a shitload of PBR and just dwell myself in sickness and just pure trashness.
I'm actually trying to see what like 32X games do you have over there, just like what the trash ones are exactly.
I have Afterburner, Doom, Knuckles Chaotix, Mortal Kombat 2, Star Wars Arcade, Shadow Squadron, Space Harrier, T-Mech, Virtua Fighter, and Virtua Racing. So I need like Tempo. But like...
Jim, what were the last 10 you named? Because they were all trash.
Son? I knew it. Fucking knew it.
Knuckles Chaotix? What was that?
I really don't like Knuckles Chaotix. I'm glad I bought it before it got expensive, but I really don't like it.
Listen, Jim, even if I do agree that those are good, that you actually do have good games there, my whole point is 32X is one of those things, if it never existed, gaming would never have skipped a beat.
I completely agree.
Yep.
Yeah.
If
So
my
it
uncle,
was a very unnecessary, like, of all the gaming peripherals and things, it's one of the more unnecessary that got more attention than it should have.
I agree.
Yep.
If I didn't get it for free, I wouldn't have it, but I did. So
But
there
then
you
you
go.
spent money on games.
I've spent $20 on mine. So.
Before the retro bubble boom, and everyone's like, "Oh, I need a 32X." At least we're not like the people in the UK who have to spend like $300 just to get the console.
Being a collector is so hard nowadays. I really want to collect more stuff, but it's just so difficult. Like, I would like a Musha, but I don't want to spend $400 on Musha. I knew he was going to do this, because I knew I said, come on, just rub it in. Go ahead.
Blade,
Let me
excuse
get my
me.
Panzer Dragoon Saga right now.
That's $600 to $700 now, sir. I'll have you know.
All
I'm
right,
gonna
next,
buy Panzer Dragoon Saga and my Snatcher just to spite you.
Blade, just so you know, next time we
gimme,
know
gimme,
we're
gimme.
going to one of the conferences, I'm going to snatch that from Jim's collection and just hand it to you.
Oh.
And he'll never know the difference because I'll just put a smiley face box right there.
Hey, where'd Musha go?
Now that's what I call a gen assist.
All right, and call button, and
That was actually good.
that was
Jim.
a good one, you bad bastard.
Jim, but you could, even if Blur was like sending you a video of him holding it, you could never get mad at that guy.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, I'll just go like,
I'm like, oh, look at his puppy dog eyes. Next up, from G to the next level. Now that 2021 has begun, what new games are you looking forward to the most this year? I'm hyped for Balan Wonderworld and the new Ratchet and Clank. Cheers. Can't wait for episode 100.
Thank you, G. The obvious one, and we'll get into it a little bit more, is Resident Evil Village for me, and the
yeah, we are.
damn it, Jim, and the fuck, Jim. Do you remember the name I called it? The thing that's the spiritual successor to Left 4 Dead. Back
Oh,
for
yeah,
Blood.
fuck, I forgot.
Back for Blood, yeah.
Back for Blood. That and those are the two main ones I can think off the top of my head. I'm sure there's other ones, but yeah, those are the two quick ones.
Yeah, Back for Blood definitely for me too. Like, and yeah, I don't do prep work for the year later. The last time we got asked, I said Halo because that's the only one I could think of. But even then, I'm just like, on Halo anymore. So I don't even know what I'm looking forward to besides like new Left 4 Dead.
Because you don't look forward to get your enjoyment. You look to the past.
Right, I live in the moment. All right,
You don't live in the moment.
Live in
Your
the moment.
your whole back shelf is the past, Jim.
I'm living in the past in the moment.
How about you, Blade?
Shout out to Balan Wonderland because that's the next game by Yuji Naka, the creator of Sonic the Hedgehog, and I'm contractually obliged to try it. So,
What game did he make?
Sonic the Hedgehog.
What's that?
It's a game about this like blue thing that likes to destroy TVs.
Yeah, Brian. If you want to see like what do you call it, like a hedgehog give birth, go to DeviantArt and type in Sonic the Hedgehog.
No, Jim, I
Bring
will never
your
go
lube.
to any of your DeviantArt links because
Yeah.
I've been down that path one time from your link and I've learned.
He also made some like really popular stuff like Burning Rangers, which is not a Saban production, surprisingly.
Saturn exclusive, one of those big ones.
But kind of like G as well. Ratchet and Clank looks pretty nice. I'm really looking forward to it because I always like Insomniac's like platformers, so that's definitely
Yeah.
something I'm looking forward to.
And you can get into the action without tons of text beforehand. You can even skip the cutscenes conveniently.
But here's the difference: the cutscenes are actually good, and they don't waste your time because they know how to pace things.
It's true.
And that reminds me. Have you heard about that game about the bold assassin?
Yeah, Hitman.
Hitman?
Yeah, I heard that game was quite a hit, man.
Oh, you son of a bitch. You know what? I didn't want to have to do it, but every time you're doing those, I'm adding in the rim shot.
Well, that actually came out, I think, last week too. So that's a 2021 game.
Yeah, and I have every Hitman. I that's a series I've always really loved, but it's one that unfortunately I haven't been. I have all the latest, but I haven't actually been able to play into them. But I love that series.
I think it's cool that if you buy the third game and if you had like the previous two, you can import like those levels into 3. Like that feature alone is like amazing. Like I don't know any other company that would do something like that.
It's funny you said that. I was telling Jim, since I am getting obsessed with these Total War Warhammer games, so if you're familiar with RTSs, but this one's on a much bigger scale, it basically, like, say there was 7 factions in the first game. If you got the second game, there's another 5. They allow you to import all 7, and then they make a map that incorporates all of them. And they're coming out with a third game with more factions, and they're going to build on top of that. So this idea,
12.
yeah. So this, they just like, I think that is a model games are recognizing you could do, and I honestly, I wish more games like all the yearly releases, like Call of Duties, if Halo becomes a more yearly release, like do that. Like instead of doing a brand new game, do a smaller tier that you can just incorporate and make the game bigger and bigger and bigger. If it's possible.
Still also have, like a new release, but also gives the option of people who stayed loyal to the previous releases and able to like import the stuff to the new game. I think like Master Chief Collection is a really good example,
Yep.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
You can buy all those games separately, and then you have this like one package, and you can choose whichever campaign you want to play, which I think is a really good thing.
Great idea. Yeah, absolutely. No, but great question, G.
Yep.
Yeah, honestly, 2021, like, because 2020 was so slow, like, a lot of stuff already come out. I don't even know what we're going to get in 2021. I don't know if there's a giant question mark, so we'll see.
Yeah, movies, games, fucking every entertainment's up in the air right now.
Yeah, well, just hope for the best.
Exactly. And last but not least, from Alex Perez. With the Super Bowl in 2 weeks, what are some of the most memorable commercials that you guys have seen? Not limited to just Super Bowl commercials.
Ooh. That's tough. I mean, beer commercials back in the day used to be good. And even, you know what? I hate to admit it, but that stupid-ass Bud Light Night commercial, like, he can't hear us. Yes, I can. The beer commercials are always funnier than they have any right to be. So I'm just going to go with, like, I don't know, a random beer commercial. Because, honestly, I've never been the type, like, I watch them. They don't stick in my mind very long. That and when video games put a lot of effort. Like, when George Romero did the Resident Evil 2 commercial. That was pretty goddamn cool.
Yeah.
Those are my standard answers.
Yeah, I think I'll keep it in the realm of video games. What do you call it? The old Crash Bandicoot outside Nintendo headquarters commercials from like the mid-90s. Those were fucking great. And like you can go back to them on YouTube and they still hold up too.
Jim, you mean you didn't want to pick the original Smash?
Oh, that's a goddamn classic commercial too. Happy together.
That's like the last time Nintendo put a lot of effort into a commercial.
Pretty much. Until what we would like to play. Okay. That's the name of the console.
Thank you, Jim. How about you, Blade?
I mean, it's the problem with like Super Bowl like commercials in particular. There's so many commercials out there that everything kind of blurs together. Pun not intended, by the way.
Oh, I was about to jump in there and say it.
Fuck, really not. I swear this time actually. In terms of like video game commercials, God, Japan is just like a gold mine when it comes to video game commercials. Like the Link of the Past commercial with little rap number and like all the dancers. Like that's just a classic right there. Like when they go deru deru zeru dano densetsu deru 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 deru. Jim is like, what the heck are you even talking about?
I have to look this up. Whenever
Yeah.
I hear a Japanese commercial, I just think of that energy drink that Arnold did.
Damn it, Jim.
Look it up, and then I only want to hear 2 words from you. Thank you.
You know what?
Alright.
I may change my answer to the one that's really funny is when the guy and his wife, it's like their wedding night and they're having sex and they squirt Skittles all over the place.
That bad one.
Like that was so
Oh.
ridiculous.
I have another one that I actually remember from childhood. Is you know, back when you were growing up as a Sega kid, obviously you used to all the Sonic game coming out on Sega platforms. So here's this Sonic Adventure 2 battle coming out on Nintendo GameCube, and I was thinking to myself, how are they gonna let people know it's coming for the GameCube? So the commercial for SA2 for GameCube, like during like the early 2002 era, had this basically like 2 real life hedgehogs like in front of a blue screen, and the director is like saying that, okay, roll into a ball, go, and you see like the hedgehog just like looking around like, what are you doing? Just go, go, and then you hear the announcer saying Sonic Adventure 2 battle coming for GameCube.
That's funny because that's how most 3D Sonic controls.
This is very true. Jim,
No,
you know
if
what?
I-
Just for that, you're gonna get the wah, wah.
Fuck off. No, what do you call it? One more commercial, though, because everyone did, too. So, back in, like, what was it, 92, I want to say, Cindy Crawford did this one, like, Diet Pepsi commercial. And, like, I don't know if any of you remember, like, she's, like, coming through the mist, and she's drinking it.
Yes.
It's got, like, the music going in the background. And I remember when, like, I think I was just, like, glued to the TV as, like, it was, like, on there and shit like that. Like, this
You're
poor
like-
little...
You were like, whoa, Diet Pepsi.
Yeah, exactly. but like the whole exchange after, when like my brother's like, "Oh, do you think she's cute?" I was like, "No." It's like, "Oh, you think she's cute?" I was like, "No, not cute." Then I ran upstairs and cried.
He would give you cooties.
Not much has changed in your life.
Not really. I'm still hiding. What do you call it? Kmart catalogs of underwear sections behind my dresser. So
Damn it, Jim.
I might have done that as a kid.
It's behind all your Genesis games.
Yeah, right.
Damn it, Jim.
I call that the Krusty Krab.
Did I say it for you this time? Damn it, Jim.
Thank you, Blade. Sometimes he gets me. But thank you, Alex. That was a great question. Sorry it devolved into Jim's Krusty Corner, and that may need to be its own segment now.
Oh God. That'll be how we bring in episode 100.
But I do want to say thank you to everyone that does support us on Patreon. We really appreciate it, and please make sure to get your questions in. If you're supporting us, we want to hear from you guys. And Jim, plug away all the links if they do want to support us.
Yeah, once again, patreon.com/DrinkABeerandPlayAGame. And once again, if you also want to support the podcast, make sure to hit up iTunes, Spotify, or YouTube. Leave a comment, leave a review, leave a 5-star review, and we'll read it no matter how badly you want to bash us.
Yep, absolutely. So, Jim, I did want to follow up on something. It's very short, but we talked last podcast about a game that, for all intents and purposes, went away. And I'm talking about Gamer Girl.
Yeah, so we briefly mentioned it's funny because like when we briefly mentioned it, we're like, "Oh, what happened with that?" And then we got a bunch of comments that were like, "Oh, holy shit, I forgot about that. Whatever happened with that?" So we did the research, we did some looking. There's nothing.
Seems like it quote unquote quietly got canceled. The same company, what's her name? Scott's Wales.
Oh, he's something from Wales, yeah.
Yeah, but they're the same team that released that Tales of Skeld. It's that horror game that's available on Xbox Pass right now.
Okay.
And yeah, they just basically completely shifted the campaign to cutting all contact from it. If you try to look up articles, I think the latest article I could find was from September of 2020.
Yeah, I think that's the one I found too. I found one from like late August. That was like, yeah, this is supposed to come out in September, and I don't think that's happening, and it never did.
Yeah,
so.
and the one in September was like, well, it's September. It didn't come out. Like, I guess it's not. So, I don't know if this is like, I would never say it's an industry standard, but I would say I wonder if this is a game they can just have on a back burner and maybe like just quietly release in the future, just without like, because if you did put the work in and made the game, it's weird to just not release it at all. I get don't promote it, but like imagine the people working on it, even no matter what you think, like just release it. I don't know.
I'm curious to see what a sim simulator would be like.
It's a weird game for sure, but I just, I think it got overblown with what the intent was, because you could argue the same thing like, well, GTA is only about killing cops. It's like no,
it's about killing hookers too.
It's like, yeah, if you make the game about that, that's what it becomes, but that's not really the point. So I don't know. We just wanted to follow up and say, hey, looks like that game is gone.
Yep, probably dead.
Sorry, Jim.
One day. Maybe I'll make my own. Put me in a wig.
Damn it. Jim's Crusty Corner. the gym simulator.
It'll be funny because that will probably be able to come out on Switch and not on Sony. So,
Jim,
what a weird role reversal this world is we're in now.
Jim, I just had an idea. There's something called an RPG Maker. Kind of make your own video games.
Oh,
I want to make it Jimmy Boy Blub Blub Adventures. And in your room, there's Jim's Crusty Corner you got to investigate.
Of course. Jim's Wall of Sega games.
The God of War that's on the TV.
What? I'm a man of fine, certain taste, Brian. I only go for the finest of games.
But yeah,
speaking...
Brian, go ahead.
Speaking of fine games, our little buddy Blur here, he was actually involved in the making of one. So, we talked about it briefly when we had Console Wars on. We gave him a shout out. So, our little buddy Blur here actually was involved with Crash 4.
Yeah, so I guess I should probably talk about this just very briefly because, there's so much that I can talk about. But
right.
I did work on Crash Bandicoot 4, It's About Time. Which is now out on both PlayStation 4 and Xbox One. And I'll just say the things that I can basically say is just it's been really interesting, during 2020 to be a part of something like this. But the fact the game is out and people are enjoying it is probably the best feeling that I can have, considering the fact how crummy 2020 was.
Yeah.
And being a part, of course, of a franchise that I grew up with and with a team of very creative individuals. That was basically the best part of it. So it's been an honor, and I'm really glad to have that experience last year.
Yeah, so go out there and buy Crash 4. Help our buddy out.
Yeah. No, I mean, just...
Tell them Blade sent you.
And obviously we talk with you a lot. You've been a video gamer your whole life, but was there ever a point in your life where you're like, I would like to do something where I work with video games in the future? And then you actually... Like you said, you're doing on a franchise you grew up with and playing, but was that ever truly, in your head as a kid? Like, I want to work with video.
I mean, the fact that I got to work on it is kind of like, luck. You don't know what you're going to get when you apply for stuff like that because, stuff get announced when they get announced. It's not like, when, there's NDAs, there are contracts involved, which is why I'm trying to be as tight-lipped about stuff that I can be.
Right.
But, in terms of wanting to work, I wanted to do something either either as a developer or as a game journalist when it comes to video games. So the fact I got to achieve one of those things is really cool. It's just that getting into the industry, regardless of what path you want to take, is incredibly tough. And we're talking about endeavor that lasted for years upon years for me. The best advice I can give to people who really want to do this is honestly, as generic as it sounds, just don't give up. I know it sucks to give such an empty advice like this, but it worked for me because I just kept on pushing. And no matter how many times I felt, this is not going to work out, eventually something happens. So just have to keep at it. And honestly, a lot of it is 10% preparation, 90% luck. Sometimes it's just being in the right place at the right time.
Yeah. Jim, timing.
Timing.
No, and that's to me, it's not cheesy. It's one of those old adages that they're reset for so much. It's like when you ask someone, man, how do you lose weight? Oh, work out and eat right. Like, there's no other, like, everyone wants to know the shortcut to all this shit. Like, how do I do this? Like,
Yeah.
there is no such thing. You just show up and do the work and try to get there. So that's just awesome that you got to do that, man. So we really are proud of you. And yeah, like Jim said, go out, buy Crash Bandicoot 4.
Yeah, and it pretty much came out to good reviews. So congratulations, man.
Yeah, it's nice to see like something I worked on get like a green like rating in Metacritic. I mean, that's pretty cool.
That's awesome.
Hey, you're awesome.
Oh.
Ow.
Speaking of great games, though, and
You're
a game we want to talk about that Blade and I are really excited for. Jim is newly. We'll see if he's excited.
It'll go in the corner.
Damn it! Resident Evil Village. I already mentioned earlier in the podcast. Those that are fans of the channel know we reviewed every major Resident Evil game. We absolutely love the series, and ever since its first few pictures it showed, we were excited. But now they've released gameplay footage, and the demo is out for PS5. So unfortunately, Jim and I, we don't have PS5, but Blade, you have it. What do you think?
It's precious. Look at it.
You son of a bitch.
No, I would be a son of a bitch who would be like, na 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 na. I can't do that.
Please do it.
Okay. Na na.
Look at these poors over here without their PS5s.
Oh, those young riffraffs. You're still stuck in 1080p, 30 frames per second.
Shut up, sir. We have base model Xbox 3 or Xbox Ones, so that's like 960p.
Enjoy your faceless cyberpunk faces.
That's what Stadia's for, sir.
But the thing they released for Resident Evil Village or 8 or whatever you want to call it is the Maiden demo, which the whole point of it is kind of a graphical showcase just to kind of see how the game is going to look. And if you like the way that RE7 looked like, then you're pretty much going to be at home. The game kind of starts you off at a dungeon. You're stuck in a dungeon and you have to escape your cell. And then you move from that, grimy looking dungeon, with like decaying rocks and barrels full with blood, stuff for kids. Yeah. You move over, you find, this like little switch when you push a brick and you go into this like fancy castle and you have to solve some really basic puzzles. It's a demo that can last you probably like about 20 minutes. So it's not even like, something extremely long. I think like the file was on like 4 gigabytes, which sounds like pretty big for a demo, but you also have to realize it's like a very beautiful looking demo, so I kind of get that. It was really interesting to me too that there's also this like new vampire creature there that's like this lady that's wearing all black. Like seems like she's made by kind of like moths or something or bats. Like the bats are kind of forming together.
Yeah.
And like she's walking around and stuff like that. And towards the end of the demo, I mean, I don't want to spoil. I mean, might as well. It's just a demo that's like 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Who knows if it's gonna be even canon to begin with? But like, there's a part when like that bat lady she eats you, and then you don't die from that. And I'm like, huh. Oh, well, I'm gonna keep going forward towards my destination. That was annoying.
Yeah.
And oh yeah, go on. Sorry.
No. I mean, that's what I was kind of confused about. Seeing the trailer and knowing it's following the same guy from Resident Evil 7.
Ethan Winters, yeah.
Yeah, like they're following him. And if for those of you who played Resident Evil 7, they still generally stuck with the whole idea of like some kind of virus that, well, they weren't zombies, they were like creature-like. And it was more in the realm of like what you would expect to see, like the Tyrant or the Licker and things like that. Whereas this game, it straight up is like, seems like vampires, werewolves, and just more like classic horror tropes, if you will.
I don't mind. I think that's a cool direction for this.
I really like it. I don't know how that plays out just because it is a first-person shooter, and you're thinking creatures like that like probably should be fast. And what I remember from Resident Evil 7, you don't do well with fast. Like, you really got to plan ahead, unless they're really revamping the first person aspect of it.
I think it moves a little bit like slightly faster than what 7 did. Then
Okay.
again, I haven't played 7 in quite a while. But what I also remembered from 7, I'm not sure. Did both of you guys finish 7 at all? Or
Just Brian. I
Just
didn't.
me. Yeah.
Yeah.
okay, because like Ethan's arc in 7 was kind of quote unquote complete. So I don't know exactly how they're gonna take it from there. So that's also kind of a question mark for me. But I mean, the thing with me, Resident Evil, I actually haven't even played all of the Resident Evils. Like, I only finished 0, 1, 2 Remake, 4, and 7. I haven't touched
You're
even...
all over the map.
Well, I didn't touch
Yeah.
3 from last year because I heard a lot of, like, mixed opinions about the 3 remakes, so I just decided to not touch it right away, but I do plan of...
do you like fun?
Fun is pretty good.
So try it if you like fun. If you don't like fun, don't try it.
Sometimes.
I mean, I did play The Last of Us too, so maybe sometimes I don't like fun. I mean,
Oh, well, he likes to get his balls stepped on. All right. Well, Resident Evil 8's perfect for him then.
I mean, speaking of getting stepped on, the one thing that everyone is talking about from Resident Evil 8, and the thing that ends the whole demo, is Miss Tall Vampire Lady. And I don't think I've seen a character from a game get so much, like, notoriety and infamy everywhere on social media.
Get Rule 34 that fast.
Yes! It's nuts! And you know what? I think it's justified because that's a really cool design.
Yeah, it's just
a fucking great design.
It doesn't look like a traditional Resident Evil like character. And that's why it's like, oh, what's the story of this?
I mean, it's got to be a thing where she turns into like a vampire tyrant,
Right,
like variant.
yeah.
Like it's got to be. She's too gigantic.
No,
Yeah.
she's going to turn completely hideous, and those giant knockers are going to turn into like 2 bats that come after you.
What if she turns into one giant boob though?
That would be amazing.
That would be probably the breast transformation.
Son, you're getting it.
He's getting there. Yeah, I just want to see like a gigantic Akira like monster, but just one pure gelatinous boob that starts to try and kill you.
A lot of people have actually been comparing her to I know you guys are not big into anime, but there's this one show called Full Metal Alchemist.
Yeah, I heard of it. I know.
And one of the 7 creatures that Homunculi lust, it's basically she has the ability to like extend her nails and like stab her like enemies. That's the same thing with Vampire Lady. Apparently, she has that ability too. Literally, the way the demo ends is like, oh, she grabs you and she's like
stabs you.
Stab you, yeah.
It'll be interesting.
You're like, oh my god, I got stabbed, and then it's like, thank you for playing our game.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Bri, you may need to edit the the description of the episode for when we get to this subject before we put it on YouTube.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I don't know why, but yeah.
Well, I mean, it's very common. I just wrote down Resident Evil 8 big titty vampire waifu mommy milker. So you get the idea. It might need to be edited a little bit.
Hence why it's in Jim's crusty corner.
Oh my gosh!
Just put a few asterisks there. It'll be fine. Cover up one of the O's, maybe a W. It'll be fine.
I'm actually crediting it too because for a series to last this long and still come up with a character that stands out like this,
Yeah.
Because I thought, in Resident Evil 7, like the Baker family, like they were really good villains, especially
They were great. Jack.
He scared the crap out of me in that game. So if they create another character like this, like good on them. So I really want 8 to work. So good luck, Capcom.
Here's the deal. 7 came out. That was the revitalization it needed and the direction it should have went. Like, it's back to horror, back to things you love about Resident Evil. Then they had the nice little Resident Evil 2 remake, which was monumentally great. And then 3, I really liked. It just got overlooked. Those were great games, but now they're back. They're giving you a new game, and they're sticking with that style, which just had success. So, there is, of course, ways they could go wrong, but if they stick kind of like 7, I think they'll be fine. And they have already crazily unique set pieces and monsters and villains, so they're a step ahead of the game.
Yeah, there's like this like Val Helsing guy I saw with the glasses. Like, he is also pretty cool looking.
Yeah, no. So I can't wait to play it.
Yeah, definitely a 2021 game that everyone should look forward to.
But we've been talking a lot about what's ahead of us, and all the games we're looking forward to, and this and that. But like we did last year with Blade, we want to take a quick peek at what's passed. And 2020 was an odd year for a gazillion reasons, and we had to go through it and at least pick one of these lists. And we're not doing what we did last year where Jim gives us 5 episodes of lists.
That was a bit of a mistake. That was a bit of a marathon.
We're going through.
Even my wife yelled at me and she was like, "No more lists." I was like, "All right."
Yeah. So we're going with Polygon. We did it last year.
And they're always good for a laugh.
They're good for commentary. I'll say that. And if you didn't watch our episode last year, you can watch it so you get a base of our opinions. But Jim, why don't you be the official rolling down, and we'll hit on what we need to. But yeah, I'm not. Jim and I have already looked through it. Blade, I don't know if you had a chance to already scroll through it.
A little bit. I forgot the order and stuff like that, so it's gone.
I got
It's
you
fine.
covered.
Because here's the thing. We said earlier that as something like, those top 10 lists that we were talking about, they may be generic and manufactured. This is clearly an opinion piece, and you can clearly see the motivation behind the spot and choices put in here. So, Jim, go ahead and take it away.
All right. Number 50 with the PS5 launch title, Bug Snacks.
Kind of bug and kind of snack. Na, na, na. I got it. That song is stuck in my brain already.
All right.
Okay,
Is that worth it at all, Blade? I mean, here's the deal. To be the best, one of the best games of an entire year, really does it make it?
Well, here's the thing, and I guess I'm gonna take over for Bug Snacks. I imagine probably you guys don't have much experience with Bug Snacks.
No. Negative.
Okay. Play Bug Snacks. It's weird, but there is so much heart into the story that I was actually shocked of how well written, well acted, and how much heart and passion was poured into it. Like, you look at the screenshot and you see, like, this burger bug, with googly eyes that yells bunger, 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 and you're like, oh, that thing is stupid as heck. But then you find yourself, talking to one of the many characters called, Chandlo Funk Bun, and you think to yourself, come on, that's like a kid's book. But he's like, oh man, I miss my boyfriend so much, and I'm like, wait, what? Boyfriend? What? Why are you actually gonna tackle a gay relationship in a video game, and you're not actually gonna make a big deal out of it? Like, it's actually natural and not the whole point of the story, and they act like normal individuals despite the goofy story. And that's really what I like. The characters are really three-dimensional to the point that no matter how crazy things get in Bug Snacks, the characters kind of ground everything together, and they really got like an amazing cast of actors to voice them. You have like the guy who voices the Hulk being like a farmer guy, which is pretty funny.
Oh wow.
You have the guy who voiced Spider-Man in the PS4 game being like the bro character. You have the guy who is Sonic the Hedgehog being like a snooty scientist. But it's the kind of game that I really want to talk more about, but it's kind of like Undertale in a way that it's best to experience it and kind of like see how fun it is. A lot of people actually say it's like, what if Pokemon Snap gave you full control of going around the world and actually let you catch stuff at your own pace, and you have different gadgets and stuff to catch all those like different creatures, and none of them repeat, which is really nice because each creature has like their own method, to be caught. It's not like, oh, I'm gonna use my net. Done. It's always like, oh, this one doesn't like the net. I need to use this trap. But if it sees me, it runs away. So I have to hide in this bush. And I need to make sure it's on the right path, activate the trap at the right moment, and then catch it. So it's like a first-person like puzzle platformer. It's so unique. And honestly, in the industry that kind of like keeps cranking, the same generic, brown shooters, or I don't know anymore.
Yeah.
It's nice to see a game that's unabashedly colorful and fun.
So it sounds like it shouldn't be on this list.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I'm saying it should be much higher on the list, honestly. The thing with
Interesting.
the thing with Bugsnax is that it's the kind of game that when critics reviewed it, they kind of gave it like more like average score, like 7 or 8, because some of the gameplay stuff admittedly isn't as polished, but the narrative is actually what really makes it stand out. And I still remember like stuff that happened in this game way past the credit sequence.
Gotcha.
And I know Jim is not exactly the person who likes, stories in terms of like, sitting.
He'll never play it.
No, but that's what I'm saying. The story is actually well told and like it's funny from the get-go, so you never get bored. I get bored easily, but it hooks you right away. And usually doesn't happen too often. And if I say that Mr. Limited ADD says that, trust me, it's a high recommendation.
Nice.
All right, cool. Now, I do hope to get a PS5 eventually, so maybe I actually will dip my toe in. Actually, because I think Brian will hate it more, because he'll be like, you have all these games on PS5 and you're playing Bugsnax? I'm like, yeah, it's fucking great!
Yeah.
It's
that is true.
blowing
That's
up.
probably how it's going to happen.
I know that's how it's going to happen.
Well, I can blame Blade. So number 49, No Man's Sky, which
No.
came from
It came out
2018.
in 2018. I don't care. I did the update. I did it. I know it. It updated a lot of things. It's fucking 2018. No, you can't be on 2020 list.
It's kind of a cheat, but I will say this: good for Hello Games for revamping their game.
They stuck to it.
And
Yeah.
making it a success despite its terrible launch. Yep.
Yeah, and here's the thing: a lot of the stuff is for free. Like they didn't charge extra for people, for all different upgrades that they did. So good on them,
Yeah,
I
definitely.
wish more people followed their footsteps, and you know what? That's the best kind of redemption story in the industry. So I just want to give them.
Yeah. No, I like it that. Don't be on my list.
Yeah, I know, but I want to give some respect.
I gotcha.
Number 48, Helltaker, which is apparently an hour-long demon girl puzzle game.
On Steam. Never heard of it. I don't
Yeah,
know.
I actually haven't heard of it too, and it's fine that the article itself doesn't even have a picture, so it's like,
Nope.
Okay. I didn't even think I've seen like big publications like IGN or GameSpot even talk about it, so I'm like stumped for once.
This is very Polygon with their personality and being cute with it.
The monocle and top hat, essentially.
Yeah.
So next up is why Brian's already angry. So as he rages about this for a little bit, I'm going to get another beer. Number 47, Doom Eternal.
All right, so here's the deal. Doom 2016 was the best modern FPS single-player campaign in a long time. Doom Eternal did everything that Doom 2016 did, made it much better, really flushed out the story, made it even more interesting, and therefore that became the best FPS campaign. And the fact that it's 47 on this list is... I can already tell, like, when I saw that, I was like, okay, these people clearly hate shooters, and they have just an issue with that style of game. Because it's fast, it's fun, it's frenetic, and the gameplay is on point. There is a story there. No excuse why it's that high. Or this low, I mean, on the list. It's ridiculous.
For me, I enjoyed Doom 2016. I thought it was basically kind of a return to form for that franchise, because I heard a lot of people didn't really like Doom 3 so much, with its more emphasis on like horror elements.
Yeah.
Eternal was a really pleasant surprise, because I personally grew up on platformers. I love jumping around, and the emphasis on like platforming, exploration, and like doing the climbing, I don't get why people complain that was awkward. To me, that was like the best way to break off, those like crazy like rooms filled of demons. You have to have like some break in the action, and I thought the platforming was excellent. The main argument I heard against Eternal is the idea that ammo depletes much faster, so you have to rely on using your chainsaw more. And yeah, I get that sometimes it's kind of annoying that you have no ammo and there's no like a peon that's like running around that you can use the chainsaw because he's stuck with a big enemy. So that I can kind of agree on, but to me it's not even enough to really duck the game. I think the level design is more varied than what 2016 was. I enjoyed the weapons better. I mean, like, there's no pistol. Like, I thought a pistol was useless in 2016. Like,
Pretty
they just
much.
gave you they gave you a shotgun. Like, that's all you need to start with. That's
Yeah, they're like, stop fucking around. Just move the
just
shotgun.
give me the best, like the coolest weapon first. Like there we go. And it's fun to upgrade the weapons. The fact that the fact the Doomslayer guy has like his own like spaceman cave. I mean, that's pretty freaking awesome. I mean, here's the thing: the game hits like retro sensibilities. Like it has levels. It's linear, and you know what? And like the linear levels have like exploration elements, but it's very arcadey. And you know what? I miss games that have an arcadey progression and don't have to be open world. You know.
Yep.
Like sometimes I just like to go from like point A to B. Sometimes I just want to destroy demons and rip their eyes apart. You know, I just want to be a normal person.
Exactly. Because once again, it's terribly placed on this list.
Yeah, it's easily the best shooter of 2020 in my opinion. Easily, there's not even a contest.
Definitely.
Well, next up, the natural progression as we go to Super Mega Baseball 3. What?
That sounds to me like a Power Rangers like title.
I didn't play it. I looked it up though. It looks like a goofy. Remember when WWE did that
Battlegrounds?
Battlegrounds?
That was this year, Battlegrounds, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Was it this year? Or...
It was 2020. Yeah.
Okay.
So I mean, like 2020. Sorry. Yeah.
Same exact style as that, like with the way the graphics look and kind of that goofiness. Haven't played it, but honestly, I've had zero interest in playing any modern baseball games because they're all, obviously just simulators. Yeah. This would be one that if I was going to play, I would probably play because it looks arcadey. But haven't played it. I do like that they would throw something like this on here. I don't know if I agree that's better than goddamn Doom, but yeah.
That's going to be a theme like throughout.
It's going to be a very big theme with me.
It's like, yeah, I guess, but it's not as better than Doom Eternal. Like, we're going to say this a lot.
Doom is my standard. Let's put it that way. That's my going to call back when we hit a game and I'm like, cool. Shouldn't be higher than Doom.
Eternal.
Yes.
This was how all the games of the decade, Brian was like, it's not better than Skyrim. Like, this is Doom Eternal is going to be that for him with this list.
For me, it's going to be like, PT again.
Yeah. Don't even get me started.
All right, speaking of
gimmicky... Hey, here's a controversial opinion right here. I like the Maiden demo more than PT. Boom.
The what?
The Maiden, like Resident Evil 8 demo.
Oh. That's all right.
I didn't enjoy PT that much, like, honestly, but okay.
Well, had PT had a big-titted vampire, you might have changed your mind.
Hey, that's why Capcom, they know how to cater to me. So
exactly.
Milkers make everything better.
Damn it.
Speaking of a game that could use some, number 45, Mario Kart Live's Home Circuit.
There's kids in their Mario Karts, man.
Yeah.
I love me some Mario Kart, but like the idea of like an augmented reality one, you have to like. I hear the biggest thing is having a space in your house to actually be able to set it up.
Because can you imagine, like people like like maybe younger than us, like 20s, like when they have like their own small rooms in an apartment, they cannot set up anything like this. It's like the same thing. They cannot set up, their own like, VR, area to play, the Quest or something like that. Or
so like it's a cool idea, but but it's like too much of a gimmick almost for me to say it should be on here. But people who can play it, I hear they say it's fun as hell. Some people are saying it's their favorite Mario Kart now.
You know what? I give this game credit for one reason. Like it's leading us towards something that I think a lot of games will start utilizing much more. I think it's a little bit ahead of its time. It's like just doing it a little too early till they can really perfect the augmented reality. I'd be fine with this being in number 50 spot, like as a kind of a, hey, this should be recognized one way or another.
Kind of like a tip of the hat, so like, good job for trying something.
Exactly. I mean, you didn't need to have, as much as I love it, you didn't need to have No Man's Sky. You could have bumped that, pushed us up to 50, and I would be cool with that.
Yeah, well, there's some other stuff that they should have actually put in their top 50, but I'm not even going to digress.
Oh, we'll get there.
Yeah, we'll get there for sure. So but, I'll just say very quickly about it. I just think it's a really cool idea, even though, like, in terms of, like, features, it's kind of bare bones. I heard, like, there's not really many unlockables and stuff to do. But again, for a brand new idea, and considering the fact that Nintendo didn't really have, like, a really great 2020, I guess that's something.
Yeah. All right, Chambers.
Number 44, Creeks. What? Some puzzle game.
Another one of those like hoity-toity stuff that I barely heard about.
It's on everything, but I mean, yeah, I've never heard of it. Anything about it? No picture.
It's on
even.
everything, but we heard nothing.
Yeah,
Again, the personality shines on this list.
it got polygoned. So moving on to something people have heard of.
Wait, before
go
you
on.
say that, we also have to emphasize apparently it's better than Doom Eternal.
I'm reserving that level with games that really we like. Creek isn't even a game that we should even mention. It's like no, I'm not even.
I know,
gonna
but
do a
I'm trying to
comparison.
start a drinking game over there.
Oh, trust me. If this was next week, I'd already be way drunk.
Oh, we have Jim for that part at least.
Yep.
True. I'm doing my part. Next up,
Okay.
Call of Duty Warzone.
It had to be on this list. I think just for the fact that it is now the most popular Battle Royale style game, and the fact that it's free, and the fact that it is now being incorporated into another company's Call of Duty game, and they made sure to do something to tie it back, which Call of Duty, if you know Infinity Ward, Activision, they don't always play nice together. This is showing how impactful that Warzone mode is, and everyone who plays it gets completely obsessed with it. It should be higher for just cultural impact alone. And
Yeah.
the gameplay, if you like Call of Duty and you do like any kind of multiplayer Warzone battle royale style game, it's the best one out there right now. So it's just, once again, as we could tell from the Doom, they don't like first person shooters. So not shocked by its position, but it should be much higher.
Yeah, that was the only game that my neighbor played, and that got him through freaking quarantine. So. Mm-hmm. And all right, next up, number 42, Yakuza, Like a Dragon. I hear nothing but love. From what I'm hearing, it's like they turned it into a turn-based RPG, but it still worked incredibly well.
Apparently, it's one of the highest rated games in the series so far, which is pretty cool. And it's probably my biggest miss of 2020. I wish I played it, but honestly, I'm waiting for the PS5 version, which is coming out in March. So,
Oh, yeah, might as well wait.
yeah, might as well. That's what I was thinking. And the only Yakuza game I played like extensively is Zero, and Zero is fantastic. So,
Yeah, the Yakuza games are great. I didn't play this one either, but it's one that like I'm fine with it being on the list. And
Yeah.
just because I didn't play it myself, I don't know if it should have been higher. But like you said, I've always had a lot of fun with them. So
like looking at videos and stuff, it looks like super fun, super irreverent. Like it doesn't take itself too seriously with its like combat mechanics and like special moves. And you know what? I can commend the game for, poking fun at itself, with its humor and all that. I think also a lot of the Yakuza games now are available on like Game Pass.
Xbox Game Pass, yeah.
I think they just released. I know I'm dating this video a little bit, but as of like the last week of January 2021, they just released like 3, 4, and 5 on Game Pass. So
They
that's
did.
pretty cool.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, but definitely, I'm just gonna say this for people who don't know much about Yakuza: just play Zero. Like that's probably the best spot to start. And Zero is considered like one of the best game of the franchise too, so you'll all be starting pretty high.
Yeah.
All right, sounds good. Next up, number 41, In Other Waters. What?
Dude,
It's another one of those that don't. It's like last year we had like Outer
is this?
Wilds and Outer Worlds, and they're like, we can do a game with a similar title, so Other Waters to make it even more confusing.
I'm not even gonna. I've looked into what this is, and I'm just gonna say, let's move on.
All right. Next up. Oh, what the fuck? Those are the graphics for it? Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, no, this is for the next one.
The next one, that's right.
Wide Ocean, Big Jacket. What?
Why does it sound like an advice that Mr. Miyagi would give Daniel-san?
Yeah. Wide Ocean, Big Jacket.
Damn it, Jim. Did you have to do the accent too?
What?
But I like that. I like that a lot.
This looks identical to one of the games that they put on the list, like super high last year, and it's killing me. I can't remember. Once again, it's Polygon.
But it
I
hits so
released
many
it.
emotional notes in a way that feels succinct and perfected, with its warmth and awkward hilarity, with heartbreaking sadness and relief.
Well, they also
Doesn't
said
sound fun. Oh, it's a mobile game too.
It's a mobile game. It's a
Okay,
short
there we
story
go.
and only a few hours. Like these people clearly love their very short, artsy style games, and that's what this one looks like.
And I get the mobile market is also like a very big market. It's like 50% of gaming right now, in terms of like how much revenue it gets, especially like in like Japan, for example.
Oh yeah.
I'm not into it. It's
Yeah.
not my scene. I respect it, but it's just not my preferred method
Yeah.
of gaming.
Yeah. If Polygon likes their artsy fartsy indie games, they also like their games from 10 years ago because fucking League of Legends is at number 39.
Dude,
Can I recite the first line of this? It's like,
Please
it
do.
really seems surprising to see a game originally released in 2009 on a list of 2020's best. Yeah, that's it. That's all you have
That's
to
it.
say. Yeah, that's it. Just no. Done.
Right.
Like,
at that point, then why don't we just fucking put Super Mario Brothers? Because you can play different versions of it. Because kids are discovering it today. Like, what the fuck is the point of this list? I don't care even if the servers are active. Like
was
don't-
there a new like expansion pack coming? I don't even think that came out. At least if they mentioned like World of Warcraft, I would have given them some credit, because there was an expansion pack. But
No, I can't give them any passes. This is ridiculous. And Austin Goslin, if that's who you are who wrote it, shame on you.
next.
Number 38, Arc Knights.
Okay, I literally see the first one after playing dozens of mobile RPGs.
With
There you
gotcha.
go. That's all I needed to know.
Yep, another like okay, clearly someone's very Julia Lee, who's already put a couple on here that I've had an issue with. Another one.
Right, didn't everyone get mad at that best games for women article and when half of them were about cooking and mobile games?
Yes, they were.
Next up at number 37, Desperados 3. I don't know what this is.
I don't know.
Tactical stealth? I mean,
Yeah, I mean that's what I think it's supposed to be kind of like XCOM-ish. No, I'm thinking of Wasteland 3 actually.
Yeah.
I don't know much about that one actually either, if I'm being honest. But
It's a cool looking game, but think like Diablo, but
okay,
set in the West, and you're
so like isometric.
Isometric, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
that could be cool.
Maybe it's good.
Kind of cool.
I just wish I had more about. See, this at least is a game where I could maybe give some credence based on some of the stuff I've seen about it. Where I'm like, okay, maybe this should be on the list.
Honestly, I don't mind that there's like mobile games. It's more of the fact I mind the fact there's like I think mobile games should be kind of separate because they have different
Criteria.
design document in mind. Yeah, they cannot have the same budget that like AAA games do. It's not like you can run something like Doom Eternal on like a Galaxy phone. So.
Exactly.
I just don't think it's kind of fair. But then again, you also have indie games that don't have similar budget. But on the other hand, indie games can have like length. They can actually be
Have
lengthy
depth and
games.
story and all that. Yeah.
Whereas like a mobile game, here's the thing: you can play an indie game and a AAA game on that same kind of controller. You can't really do it, with a cell phone. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
The inputs are just different.
Exactly. So unless you have like a god tier like puzzle game, yeah, we all know what we're saying. Next up, number 36, Paradise Killer. Another one I didn't hear of.
I'll tell you right now, this is a game I'm fully expecting you to one day be like, I picked up Paradise Killer.
Murder
it's
mystery?
kind of anime style, not really anime, but cartoon styled hot women on an island, and it's a murder mystery.
See, Bri, you could have just said it's a murder mystery. I would have been interested. But with your first part of that description, it's on the Switch. Well, I know what I'm downloading after this.
This is a game I absolutely know Jim will play, and Jim being Jim, it's got charm. It's fun. That's gonna be the full review.
Does it have vampire mommy milkers? That's the
I
real
don't
question.
think so.
All right.
It looks kind of cool. I've seen like a bunch of like screenshots of it. It looks really nice. Maybe I know it's funny because I'm an anime guy, but for some reason like it doesn't attract me right away. Maybe vampire mommies there too in order to grab.
You know what I'm gonna say? You know what I'm gonna say at this moment? Is it better than Doom? And we know the goddamn answer.
In this case, it's hard for me to say because I didn't play it, so I wouldn't say it's like fair.
I'd say it.
Then you can say it.
I can say it.
Yeah, I mean, let's move to the next, I guess.
Yeah,
I
number 35 is at least a game people have heard of. Dirt 5.
Because there were like 4 dirts beforehand, at least. So.
exactly.
Right. Yeah,
Lots of
it
dirt
was,
in this world.
it was at least a series that people like. I've never played any of the Dirt games, but I haven't played racing games in ages, so.
No, Dirt's always a great series, and part of the fun is, it's different than a typical racer because it's a rally race, and if you do like that style, it makes sense why it's on the list because this one is one of the better received of the Dirt series, so it makes sense on this list. I'm just gonna say it, not better than Doom.
Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, go on.
No, you go.
No, I was just saying, to me, it's kind of a game that also came at the right time with like the next gen consoles coming out, and a lot of the buzz about it too is that how it managed to break the barrier of 60 FPS. Apparently, it supports 120 hertz.
Damn.
To those who are actually lucky enough to have like a monitor / TV that even supports those resolutions.
Yeah, most people don't even have the right hardware.
Most people don't have the console exactly,
Yeah.
but I mean. But it's also the kind of game. It's like I don't know. I'm kind of if the game is like available on like PS Plus or something like that, I would download it and definitely give it a shot. It's not something I'm gonna go out and seek.
No, and this
exactly.
is probably one of the last hurrahs for Codemasters because didn't they just get bought out?
I think so, right?
And it was by someone that people hate too, and I forget who the fuck did it.
I don't know.
I forget if it was like EA or Microsoft or someone bought Codemasters and people were pissed. Because Codemasters has been around for 40 years. Like, they've been making titles forever.
Yeah.
Oh my god, where would Dizzy go now?
Shut up, Jim.
Stupid egg. Stupid Brits. Next up, 34. Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 and 2. Yep, should be here.
Nope, should be here, and I'm okay with the placement too. So, I guess you did okay. Who wrote that one? Samet Sarker. Good job.
I have nothing to add. But number 33, Paper Mario, the Origami King. I'm surprised because most people I saw were like kind of disappointed by it.
Damn it.
What?
Blade.
Oh, I don't have the camera on me. Or
it's really hard hating an Origami King, and people are like, "Oh, you only like 1,000-Year Door, so that's the reason why you hate it." No. Yeah, okay. Do you remember what I was saying earlier about Bugsnax, about a game gripping you from the very beginning with well-done characters, fantastic acting? Mario, like, Origami King is the exact opposite. If you get bored from a game that just, like, rambles around text and spends, like, about 40 minutes explaining its battle mechanics, if you can even call that, it's just like a puzzle mini-game, you're not gonna like it. And apparently people say, oh, but it gets better after the second. No, it should not get better after so-and-so. It should get great from the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
And
I agree.
And people who love that game, and I've seen a bunch of people, don't stop raving about it and enjoying like some of the more open areas of that game. That's good for them. But the battle system didn't grab me. The writing is funny, but unfortunately, it's marred by just a lot of, walls of text that I just don't really care about. Everything just moves really slow and meandering, and I don't know, maybe this game is what officially kind of like killed my joy when it comes to Paper Mario. It's not like I'm looking forward for them to do like another 1,000-Year Door like turn-based RPG again. It's more the fact that I just don't care.
It's weird that it's a game with turn-based battles, but like no like RPG like progression system and stuff too, right?
There's no point. Like the battles essentially have no point because the only thing you really get from them is like coins for like to buy some stuff from like a shop. But even then, it's not exactly necessary because you can heal pretty fast. So I don't know. To me,
this is just Polygon. They gotta have a Mario game higher on the list. It's not honestly, on there for any other reason.
If I'm being honest, this might be my biggest disappointment of last year. It's not like I was really looking forward for that game to be amazing, but I wasn't expected to be as underwhelmed by it as I was, and that to me just makes me sad.
Yeah. No, it's
But it is better than Doom. We can all agree on that.
Next
up at number 32, The Solitaire Conspiracy.
And that is also better than Doom, apparently.
Well, it's by the people who made Thomas Was Alone and Volume.
Okay. Okay, I'll
It's an overarching spy plot that strings together. Blah 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 blah. Blah,
I
blah.
don't know, but every time someone says Thomas was alone, I'm thinking of the tank engine, just like in a Dark Corridor.
They're
Poor
2,
Thomas.
they're 4, they're 6, they're 8.
Do, do, do,
Thomas
do,
was
do,
by
do.
himself.
Grr.
Gordon wasn't his friend anymore.
Well, this one, I don't know how you're going to feel about this one, Blade, because we talked a little bit about it.
Yeah, 31. Ghost of Tsushima.
Ah,
Oh, there it is.
why 31? Look, can you remove the 3 from there, and then we're gonna have like a more appropriate spot?
Look, it was barely better than the solitaire game thingy.
Yeah. And that means there's 30 games much better than it. Duh.
Well, I mean, here's the thing about Ghosts is the fact that when it first came out, a lot of people basically call it sort of like an Assassin's Creed game in Japan. So they kind of reviewed it kind of like an Assassin's Creed game. But in terms of like, like, oh, it's like a 7-8 sort of like game, it doesn't do anything special. It's kind of like, traditional like open world adventure game, like action adventure game. Here's the thing, maybe it doesn't do anything to reinvent the wheel, but why does the wheel have to be reinvented all the time? Why can we not have a game that just, looks really good and plays very well and does everything that it sets out to do right?
Because it's not artsy enough. God
Exactly.
damn it.
Like,
It's not an hour-long puzzle game with cute graphics. Come on, duh.
I mean, it's the kind of game that actually really makes you appreciate the hard work that all the graphic designers put into it, because you both played your fair share of open world games.
Right.
So whenever you have to look for the next checkpoint, you have like all those like little like pointers and like a mini map and stuff like that. Ghost gets rid of all of that, and the only thing that really helps you go to your next destination is the wind. And the fact that you can see the wind blowing to your next destination, you see like each individual like blade of grass or flower literally being blown to the direction you have to go to, really makes you appreciate the artistry behind it. I don't think I've used a photo mode in a game as much as I have with Ghost. It's beautiful beyond belief. Like, it's so beautiful that people in Japan are upset that they wish they made it. That's how good it is.
Wow, that's impressive.
No, joking aside, it's the third game ever from Famitsu that got a perfect score, like for a Western release.
Yeah.
After, I believe, Skyrim and GTA 5, I want to say. So,
I do think it should be higher on this list as well. I support you with that.
yeah, and here's the thing, and this is a kind of thing I'm going to talk about like in my own video, but I'm so glad Sucker Punch got a win, because I think, to me, they're usually kind of like in the shadow of Naughty Dog and Insomniac, as like, the companies who made like the platformers like Sly Cooper and Ratchet and Jack and Daxter and all that stuff. Like, Sly usually been like more in the shadow, and Infamous was kind of behind, Uncharted and Resistance and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I'm so happy that Sucker Punch got a hit, and it's a really good game. It sold very well, and I'm just happy for them. Like, they deserve a win.
No, absolutely.
Yep. Number 30, Ori and the Will of the Wisp.
Talking about games that like are also rated so low, like what the heck? Here's a game.
Yeah, Ori, I love the Ori games, I'll say that. And I haven't been able to play this one, but I get why this is on this list. I probably should be higher. I mean, it's clearly better than Ghost of Tsushima, but no.
And Doom.
But no, I mean, at the end of the day, this is one I completely agree should be on the list, but I do think it should be higher.
Well, I mean, I was kind of thinking of like what Jim was talking earlier about Shantae in particular. Like, it's a Metroidvania, like an open like platformer exploration sort of game. But the thing about Ori is that, yes, it kind of starts slow, but in Ori's case, it starts slow because there's no dialogue. It tells all of its storytelling, with minimalistic, approach. Like, there's no dialogue. It's all how the characters emote. It's very effective. Like, I'm going to give this game a huge compliment. It's like the first 10 minutes of Up. And no one is ever going to say anything bad about the first 10 minutes of Up. I'm not going to spoil that, obviously. I know the movie's 10 years old, but I bet some of you guys probably don't know what I'm talking about. The fact, here's the best credit I can give Ori. Like, yeah, the combat is much better than first. It looks amazing, and the platforming is sublime. But the one thing I'll definitely say, it made me cry. And games usually don't do that. that alone deserves credit.
Yeah, I've always heard nothing but great things about it, so
Yeah.
The
definitely
first
should be
game,
here.
the first game never really caused any emotion to me, but they cracked they managed to crank the storytelling level, like the storytelling to a whole new level. I don't know how they managed to do it, but I was genuinely teared up with a game that barely has any dialogue in it. And I think to me, I really admire the show don't tell mentality. You don't have to basically have a character saying, I am very sad. Feel sad for me. I don't need to be told that. I can actually
Yeah.
see how a character acts.
Yeah, like the last game that hit that for me was like Celeste. So like when you
That's a
have
great
stuff like
example.
that, yeah, that's
You
always
know
great.
what? I'll say you this: you like Celeste, you will love Ori and the Will of the
Okay.
Wisps.
Yep. Yeah.
All right, I
I
gotta
would,
get on that.
and you know what? I mean, I'm gonna make fun of the Series X and how I barely played it when I got that console. But I will say this: Ori definitely made me feel happy that I got a Series X because playing that game in 4K resolution and everything. I mean, and just to experience this like beautiful masterpiece picture in motion was worth the price of admission alone. So
Yeah.
good on you, or it says for such a small development studio making something so beautiful. I wish it was higher, but sure, let's give him the benefit of the doubt.
Well, I mean, it's not a Picross game that you get at number 29 with Murder by Numbers.
Dude, it's so ridiculous. I mean, here's the deal. I do believe gamers are varied. We get it. And puzzle games have their place. Jim's
Yes,
a
I
huge
agree.
puzzle game. Like, I'm fine with that. But, like, unless you completely revolutionize gaming, which we goddamn know Murder by Numbers did not in 2020, you're putting it above games that, as you just described, have emotions, are beautiful to look at, are some of the most fun FPSs out there. Come on, man. Like, stop trying to make your pick. Like, this screams you're just trying to get unique picks. You're not trying to actually give real what's the best games.
Like getting a rise, yeah. And
Yeah.
I remember Murder by Numbers actually getting decent reviews, so I can kind of understand its placement. But and there are rooms actually for good puzzle games. I mean, I mentioned Bugsnax earlier. I mean, that's kind of a puzzle game. And there's also The Witness from a few years back, and that game was critically acclaimed, and I think it sold pretty well too. And The Witness is literally a game when you move from one point of a puzzle to another point, like in a maze. I mean, that's all the gameplay is. And for some reason, to manage to elevate it to monumental levels that the whole world becomes a puzzle,
Yeah.
which is crazy. I mean, I think it still deserves to be on the list, just maybe not above some of the other stuff we mentioned
Yeah,
earlier.
exactly.
But
As I'm saying, it has a place, and that's called 41 to 50. There's
you
my
know,
place.
actually, it may have a place, in the 21 to 30s. It's just the other games we mentioned should be higher than it. That's all I'm saying.
Well, this next one shouldn't
Well,
even.
see, Brian, the problem with Doom Eternal was that it was a full game and not an expansion pack. Because number 28 is Destiny 2 Beyond Light.
Once again, a game that came out in 2017, you're just talking about goddamn DLC for it. Doesn't count. I'm sorry. I've said many times, I think proper DLC can extend the life of the game, but when you're doing lists, you got to give credit to the new releases, not just DLC. Make a list of top 20 DLCs, and I'd be fine. There you go. Don't do it for brand new releases. I hate it.
Next up, number 27, Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity.
I do agree with this being on the list.
Yeah, I haven't played it, but I played the first Hyrule Warriors and absolutely loved it. So, prequel to Breath of the Wild. It should be on the list, I'm sure. I didn't get around to it, but I'm sure it's good.
Are you guys into the Muso stuff yourselves?
I'm not a
Like
huge fan.
Warriors?
Like,
I was.
I have to. I have to
Dynasty-
care about the license.
Yeah. See, the reason why I love Hyrule Warriors is because I was a huge Dynasty Warriors. I got it by accident, and it was kind of, I think it was, if I believe correctly, it was kind of inspired by like the Total War style games when they did Total War Spartan, and then the Dynasty Warrior. Just the idea, like I'm obsessed with like being able to like see a larger view of an army, zooming in, taking control, and beating waves of people. So that concept drew me in right away. I had no connection to the characters, to the franchise itself, because I got like Dynasty Warriors Extreme Legends as my first game.
What's a Lubu?
What's a what?
What's a Lubu?
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, I don't know what the hell. I was like, this guy just
Pokemon?
looks. I was like, he looks cool, or like, whatever. So yeah,
I give like what's his name, Dan from Console Wars, so much flack for like following the series, no matter how much it sometimes just goes downhill.
yeah. But here's the deal. I wish more games would do it, and I think Legend of Zelda was very smart for doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That I will give Hyrule Warriors is that they're imbuing obviously the Zelda mythos into it, which definitely helped sales for sure, but also treats it with respect, like of the cast of characters they bring in, and the idea of making it like a prequel to the events that led up to Breath of the Wild is also a pretty genius idea.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's easy to like you can't just slap like a license on there and make it good, because when I got my Switch, I got Fire Emblem Heroes with it, which is the same thing with Fire Emblem characters. And I was just bored off my ass with it. Like, something about it just did not click. So, and I'm not I'm not a huge Legend of Zelda fan either. Like, I like Zelda, but like, it's not enough to keep me invested in a game where Hyrule Warriors was. Like, it just had that balance to it.
Yeah, Fire Emblem Warriors also kind of dropped off of it like after the first hour or two, and I'm actually a big Fire Emblem guy, so the fact that I didn't like gravitate towards it is kind of sad, but
Yeah. But
those games are kind of hit and miss, the Warrior stuff, but I'm glad at least the Zelda stuff is going well.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, number 26, one I'm glad to see on here. I would have put it higher. Streets of Rage 4.
That game should go straight to the top.
Goddamn right.
No, it definitely deserves a higher spot. I think at minimum it should be in the top 15. Like, it's not having played all the beat 'em ups. It's the best one of the year for sure. And, it's a return to form. Like you said, it's nice going back and getting an arcade-style game that you don't really worry about other stuff.
Better than Paprium?
I am glad. I'm glad I did not pre-order that shit. Either back in the day or now. I feel bad for the suckers who are going for it now, being like, "Oh, it looks cool," and paying $130 for it. Like, fuck that.
Well, watch there's gonna be like a next gen release on like PSN and like Xbox Store.
Oh yeah, I'm sure. I wouldn't be shocked to see it get enough people to get on it.
Just like Pure
Solar
Solar
never did.
Yeah,
Pure
exactly.
Solar did get ported, didn't it?
Yeah, it did. Yes, I have
That's
it.
right. Yeah. So yeah, fuck that. If I ever want to play it, I'll pay $5 on Switch to play it. I'm not paying for an overpriced Genesis game.
Here's my hot take regarding like Streets of Rage in general. The first game is my favorite game of the series, and I know usually people say 2.
Because it's better.
Two is better, but one's fantastic. I love one.
No, one is damn good.
I'll say why I have a slight preference to 1 over 2. I never really liked the fact that using the special moves took a lot of the health of your bar, and I know why they did it. They didn't want people to just use special moves all the time and spam them.
Right.
So there had to be like a risk-reward system to it, but I felt that the game was really hard as is, so you sometimes needed to rely on those special moves. So to me, like, the repertoire of the characters wasn't really as deep as it could have been, compared to, like, say, at least in Streets of Rage 1, you had, like, the cops, like, shooting a bazooka all the way up an elevator, at the very least, to help you out.
Yeah.
And that's what I like about 4, is the fact that you can use the special moves. It does take your health, but if you're good enough and don't get hit, and you pull off a combo, you can actually regain on health back. That's a really clever, like, modern way to upgrade the system from the old Genesis days. So it plays like a Genesis game, which is, of course, 2 giant thumbs up for me, but it also elevates and managed to do something new that is really subtle but incredibly clever.
Yeah.
And I've said many times that game, the one miss it had is the soundtrack didn't live up the par of the old games.
I'll say it's better than 3. I thought 3.
Well, everything's better than 3. 3 was
soundtrack
the
for
dog
3.
shit.
I don't know what happened to Yuzo Koshiro there. Was he like drunk or something?
He just started pressing all the shit together at the same time.
It was experimental. Yeah. It was impressive.
And you know what, Jim? It sucked. Just trying something new doesn't make it good, Jim.
Look, Brian, that goddamn disco. The disco song should have been on our top 10 list.
No,
I will
it
go to my
should've.
grave. The disco song should have been there.
Never.
Yes.
If anything, they should just told him, Koshiro-san, just go straight for like every level in Streets of Rage 3, and that would be better.
See, Jim is the person on this list that would add like a goofy puzzle game as number 5. He's like, it's charming, isn't it? And everyone's like, what are you talking about? That's terrible.
Look, I'm just mad Waifu Uncovered isn't on this list, so that's a crime in itself.
I'm mad at the next one. So
My
go
man.
on.
Next up, Hard Space Shipbreaker.
You know what's funny? I actually had seen reviews of this many times, especially now that I'm using Steam a lot more. Okay, it may be a fun game, but just listening to what it's about, you basically take apart old decaying ships and old technologies.
Okay.
So it's not
You're a
VR.
scavenger, essentially. Like, fine, that's a thing. Is it better than the games you mentioned so far? That's all I'm going to say.
It's better than Doom Eternal.
No, it's not.
Is it better than Fuse Rage 4?
Snacks. You know what? Number 50. I'm still annoyed about that. It's the thing is that in terms of like underwater games, like I think Subnautica was also very popular. I know it didn't come out this year, but I barely heard of. I need to actually look at the name. Hard Space Shipbreaker.
Exactly.
So
That tells you something.
An impact. I had to literally go back to the page and look at it.
Well, number 24. If you love you some resource management, then you're going to love Spiritfarer, a game about resource management on a ship.
You know, it's funny because so when I usually, do my whole game of the year shtick, I usually like to listen to like a bunch of podcasts and read articles of like people who, talk about the stuff they played. And one of my favorite go-to things is to listen to Giant Bomb, because it's a lot of the people I grew up with, like old GameSpot, Jeff Gertzman, Alex Navarro, and all that stuff. And Alex Navarro in particular is a very indie hoity-toity kind of guy when he doesn't talk so much about like mainstream stuff. And a bunch of people said how much they like Spiritfarer, because I think the whole concept of that game is reincarnation, like how life begins and restarts. And it has like a very emotional story to it, from what I've heard. But then literally the first sentence you say, like, it's a resource management game.
That's all, yeah.
That kind of like takes away, because that's kind of what I'm talking about a lot of the time.
Is it fun?
But that's like why I love Ori so much. You can have a game that's very emotional, but still have fun gameplay attached to it too. Yeah. Why is that difficult sometimes?
Because you're not a failed New York Times writer who settled for video games. That's why.
And you know what? Spiritfarer has the room, and I think it's definitely awesome for like that indie development to make a story that affected a lot of people. It's just not something that I would seek out. That's all I'm saying. Yet.
All right, so number 23. Speaking of old games, well, kind of a new old game. Demon's Souls Remake.
I give this one a pass from the other ones because it's.
I hear it's like a ground up rebuild though, so
it is. It's not. It's kind of. I wouldn't say it goes completely as far as like Resident Evil 2 Remake, but it definitely like in terms of like Resident Evil 2 Remake. Essentially,
it's a completely different
story.
experience.
I would say like Twin Snakes is maybe my closest like comparison.
That's a good comparison.
Yeah, exactly.
Like it retains like the same design elements to it, whereas like Resident Evil 2 Remake does not play at all the same as the Resident Evil 2.
So this game, I'm fine with it being on the list.
Yeah, I'm fine with it being there too.
It's kind of I put it in the same category as Tony Hawk.
It's probably in a good spot too.
Yeah. Like I'm actually okay with the spot.
And you know what? Good on Blue Point. I think when it comes to remastering and making like old games new again, they're the best in the business. When the whole trend of like HD remasters and definitive edition started, they were the first people to release God of War 1 and 2 on PS3, and everyone else followed suit. And then they did the Metal Gear collection that was really good, and I think they also did Echo and Shot of the Colossus collection on PS3. And speaking of Shadow of the Colossus, they brought it to PS4 and it looks fantastic. So whenever they're behind a project, all eyes on them. Like they are a master class when it comes to refining.
They know how to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. I haven't had a chance to play Demon's Souls because it's funny. Like when it comes to me in the Souls games, I usually play like the non-Souls, like Dark Souls stuff. Like I played Bloodborne, I played Sekiro, I played Neo, but I didn't play Dark Souls or Demon's Souls. So I need to change that. Exactly.
All right, next up,
Pull out
22.
my PS5 somehow, I guess.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Next up at 22, Star Wars Squadrons, a game I need to get to.
This has to be a gym game. It looks really cool. I've never been one into. I'm not a huge like space or flying type style. I love Star Wars lore, but for the life of me, there's only a handful of the games that really grip me. For Jim, this should have been a no-brainer as far as a newer game, and I just told him it is available on the cheap on Xbox. So
I don't know if I hope it's still on Game Pass. It probably isn't, but if it's cheap on Xbox, I'll get it.
Doesn't Game Pass include the EA Play thing? So it should
Yeah.
be part of it.
it does. That's what I'm saying. I know it was on there, but you could also at this point, because who knows how long it's going to stay, you could just buy it. I think it's
Yeah, I
like
think it's
20 some bucks.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Jim, that's on you.
That's my homework.
For me, I, honestly, with Squadrons really makes me sad because I bought it and I played the first few hours of it, like the training mission and also a little bit of multiplayer, and I found out that games like this just make me incredibly dizzy. Which is why I don't have my VR headset anymore, because I get like squeamish really fast, and it sucks because I'm seeing like all the stuff they did with it. Like, it looks great. Maybe some of the mechanics can be kind of complicated because you have to like shift your shields and your lasers, and sometimes I just want to have
It's definitely more simulation-y, like the old
yeah,
X-Men
I prefer
series.
something
Yeah.
a bit more arcadey. I'm a big fan of Crimson Skies. Like, that's one of my favorite like flying games of all.
Oh, yeah.
And that's kind of like what I was hoping for, and I guess it was more sim-like for me.
I would love to see another Rogue Squadron or Jedi Starfighter come back,
and
but
Rock Squadron too,
yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
I still remember like the good old days of like Rebel Strike for the GameCube coming out, and they were like, "Oh, we're gonna include the predecessor Rogue Leader, the entirety of it on co-op," and I'm like,
I know.
"Why
was
don't
so
people
cool.
sing praises to that? That's amazing."
Yeah,
But I digress. My point is that if you have motion sickness, do not play this game. That's all I gotta say.
ah, shit.
Oh, Jim.
Well, I'll try it on Game Pass then. 'cause I get
That's
motion
not
sickness
my
like a
recommendation.
mofo.
Yeah, that's actually a good idea.
Okay, yeah, thank you. Thank you for the heads up.
My pleasure.
So, next up. Oops, excuse me. Genshin Impact. Yeah? didn't even hear of
Anime, Breath of the Wild.
Yeah.
Is that what it is? Okay.
That's basically what it is. I was interested in it because it's like, oh, this looks kind of interesting. I like Breath of the Wild. I like anime. Then I found out it's a gacha game. And that made me kind of sad because I don't want to spend a lot of like real life money to get the one character I want to get. So
Right.
I decided to just not go for it. But I heard people are having fun with it, and those who like to spend money on it and are getting their money's worth, because apparently it's still a well-made game. So good on them. I don't considering my collection and how much money I already spent on games already, I just would rather not go that path personally. Right. But I think, so speaking of mobile games, and I think this is also something we have to give Genshin some credit. It's out on like PS4, PC, and mobile. And it's the exact same game on all three platforms. The fact that a mobile game can run this and the PS4 can also run this, and people from different platforms can actually play, like people on the phone can play with people on PS4. I think that's where the future of gaming is going to go, because like we said earlier, mobile gaming is getting huge. And as much as I don't want to play stuff on mobile, I have to commend like developers of mobile games that are getting closer and closer to the console like PC threshold, and managed to cross that line.
Or who just make a game that can make it work.
Apparently Genshin worked. Apparently it's a success. Good on them, but I mean, if I want to play Breath of the Wild, I'll play Breath of the Wild or like Phoenix Rising or something like that instead.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't know. Actually, I don't. For the record, I don't know if that game is on the list, but if it's not, I'll give a shout out because that game is actually pretty good.
Yeah, I hear Phoenix Rising is good.
Yeah.
Next up, the Jackbox Party Pack 7. People love the Jackbox. I mean, I'm kind of okay with it being there. It's like that party game kind of game.
I'm not okay with it being 20.
Now with it being 20. I'll give you that.
I'm with Brian. This is the kind of thing that it's like, it can be in the list, but is it like number 20? Like high?
Now, is it better than Doom?
It's derivative. So.
You know?
All right. Now here's a shocker. So for as artsy fartsy as this list has been, number 19, The Last of Us Part 2.
Let's
Wow.
open a can of worms together.
I mean, here's the deal. I think regardless of there's enough praise out there, the criticisms of the game have seem to be less about the game and more about some of the specifics of the story.
That's what upsets me personally.
It's torture porn, and Neil Druckmann's a dick, and he's annoying, and it's all the controversy around the release and everything like that, and all the everything.
And that's
We
what
talked about it
bothers
ad
me. Yeah.
nauseum. We talked about it for like 10 podcasts in a row. So
I just put it like this. Hey, if there wasn't a shred of coverage and the hype around this game coming out, and someone played this in a vacuum, would you say it's a good game? And it's tough to put yourself in that because, as they say, the first line, the game puts you in a bad mood. I am all about games that give you a very unique experience. Whether it's like when you watch certain movies, like there's certain movies you watch and you just don't feel like good, but you just watched a good film because you had an emotional response, and that's what we've been talking about.
Right.
And it can't always be this made me happy or this made me joyful or sad. Like sometimes like putting you in a negative mood is like it's powerful. So I kind of think like it should be commendable. And honestly, I think it should be maybe at least number 10.
I think it should be on the list. It probably should be higher. Like when we had Nest Friend on, like he loved the game, even though it was like straight up torture porn. But he's like, the game's so fun though. So
Yeah.
I was thinking like you're talking about like movies that cause like I think of like Joker. That's like the first thing that comes up to mind because I was feeling very uneasy watching Joker from like a couple of years ago, but then I'm realizing like that's kind of what they were going for, and just everything around it was well made. It's just not the kind of movie I want to like watch again because of those reasons. And,
Exactly.
And speaking of The Last of Us 2, it's the problem with The Last of Us 2 with me. It's not story choices. It's not the ending. It's nothing like that. I think complaining about stuff like that honestly is kind of juvenile because they like the audience don't like to be like challenged in terms of like how a story can change, and I respect the goal that Naughty Dog had to do. My issues is more the fact that the pacing is just sometimes really, really slow in terms of like Last of Us 1 had moments of levity. Like you had characters that, had different emotions besides of being dreary and depressed the entire time. Ellie would make jokes. Ellie was trying to have fun despite the fact of how terrible the world around her was. So no matter how terrible things were in the first game, you had at least like one voice that basically kept things up. Now that Ellie is older, she's grumpier. Everyone around her is kind of grumpy too. And you have to play through this experience for like what, 28 hours of like, this world
misery.
sucks. It really sucks. Yeah. Let's talk about how much everything sucks. And I'm like, oh, for the love of God, I get it, all this terrible. Like, can someone just crack one smile? I mean, there's like one flashback the entire time where characters are happy. And I wish there was like more stuff like that. It's just.
But you know what? When it comes to storytelling and PlayStation, and obviously Last of Us, I think was the gold standard of like what's set as more cinematic and getting the story and getting you invested. They're setting you up for what I would think is a triumphant like a third movie, like third game. I'm sorry, and like basically, I think that's where you get your happiness. It's kind of like in the Empire, everything's a little dark for the heroes by the end, and it's like, oh shit, what's happening?
Yeah, but the thing is that you can still tell a story about a horrific event and still have like different emotions because
sure.
Ghost of Tsushima is a really good example. It's telling the story. I mean, yeah, a lot of it is fictional, but it's about like a war, like when Mongolians invade and kill a lot of Japanese people, and you like ride around with your horse, and you see like corpses that are being on stake, and stuff like that, and it's horrific to see that stuff. But then you can have a side quest when you're helping your friend to infiltrate an enemy camp, and you have to jump into a sake barrel because that's the only place you can hide, apparently, and you find yourself, oh wow, the one place they would not search me is a sake barrel, and then you actually go on and like stab everyone. So I just want balance. And the problem with The Last of Us, it's funny too, because Tsushima is a game that's twice as long than The Last of Us Part 2, but I never had a pacing issue with it because it doesn't feel long and drawn out. that's the problem. You need to have balance, and I think the first game struck it, and the second game unfortunately missed the mark. That being said, however, it can be higher because I do think the gameplay is actually pretty good. So
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
All right, number 18, game Brian's talked about a lot. Assassin's Creed Valhalla.
I mean, I'm loving it. I'll be honest. I was not the original Assassin's Creed and those games. They didn't draw me in that much. This one, I'm really loving, and I find myself the same way this person who reviewed it said. At first, it feels like, wow, this is such a big game. Like, it almost feels overwhelming. And I've checked my time. I'm like 45 hours in, and I know I'm not even close to finishing the story. And I don't feel like I did that. Like, I doesn't feel overwhelming now. I'm like, oh, it does make sense. Mm-hmm. And the gameplay, like, I just love the complete. You're not just being a stealthy person. Like, you're all about raiding. You're all about setting up your village. You're like, they're implementing new things in Assassin's Creed in a way that I like. And if you're a diehard Assassin's Creed fan, maybe it turns you off. But for me, I welcome the change in pace.
This game is like a Norwegian Ghost of Tsushima.
Yeah, that's fine. And that's not a bad thing.
I mean, I will say this. I haven't actually had a chance to play Valhalla yet, but man, Ubisoft are nuts for releasing like that, Watch Dogs Legion, and Phoenix Rising in the span of like 3 months. Like, sort of. It's just kind of crazy to me of like how many like open world stuff they had. And I'm glad at least that apparently Valhalla is one of the better Assassin's Creed games out there, because I don't like a lot of them. I only like 2 and
same.
Origins, and that's kind of it for me.
Yeah, I mean, Assassin's Creed was very, very, very hit or miss.
Yeah,
and most of it was misses for me. And this one's sucked me in pretty decently. So
I heard from a lot of people who do not like Assassin's Creed saying Valhalla is actually pretty good. So it's kind of one of those games that I'll definitely give a chance to, like, pretty soon, hopefully.
Yeah.
Right, Jim?
Yeah, I'll never get into it.
No, he won't. He'll never play a single Assassin's Creed game.
Yeah.
Unless it's called Ass Creed. Like, literally just call the next one Ass Creed.
Oh, well, sign me up. Number 17, Fall Guys, Ultimate Knockout.
Had to be on the list.
It's because of what a big deal it was in 2020. I think it was, like, the game of, like, August that people were like,
Yep.
Yeah, July, August, like the summer. Right before Among Us hit, that was, like, the game.
I was about to say, I think the moment Among Us got popular, Fall Guys died.
It did, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, no, that killed it off completely. Like, I haven't heard anyone touch it or talk about it. But I respect it because of, once again, that's kind of like Pokemon Go in the day. It was a big thing for a little while.
I still play Pokemon Go. I'm level 41.
You're that guy, the one.
I still play too. I'm level 38.
I'm still trying to get lucky friends with him so he can give me like a shiny or something.
We're not lucky. Oh, we got to just keep sending gifts then. Okay,
yeah,
I'll just keep sending gifts.
If you have like a shiny Gibble, I'll be your best friend forever because I want one so bad.
Oh, if I get a shiny Gibble, I'm keeping that motherfucker.
Well, if you have multiple shiny Gibble, then give me one. Is what I'm saying.
I have 3, and I'm gonna sell them all to other people.
But I want to talk like touch upon the whole Fall Guys like Among Us thing, because when I first saw Among Us, I was like, is that like a Fall Guys spin-off?
Well, you might have to wait because
you might need to save that. Yeah.
But
spoilers.
no, I'm just saying, like, it looked like to me like a Fall Guys spin-off, and I haven't played much Fall Guys. I only played it a lot because they released a Sonic skin, and I'm like, crap, I have to get
gotta get it. Yeah.
And now there's like a Doom skin, and I'm like, okay, I mean, I'm done. I played my fill. I got my Sonic skin. I didn't have space on my hard drive, so I had to delete something. Fall Guys, it's good for what it was, but I think I'm done.
Yeah, I think the fact they didn't really add any more levels and shit is what also killed it once Among Us came out too. Like, they didn't like give you a reason to come back.
Yeah.
So number 16, Astro's Playroom, which I believe is the sequel to that VR Astro.
It's only a
Astrobot.
Shut up, people.
Wow.
Well, that's what like people are complaining about. Like, oh, it's a tech demo. It's not even a full game. You get it for free when you buy a PS5, and you're getting an amazing platformer for free. When do we get like packing games anymore? When was the last time that happened? Wii
Yeah,
Sports.
for real.
Wii Sports.
That was like 15 years ago almost.
Yeah.
It's going to be. And the fact you get like a really good packing games that kind of like celebrate the legacy of PlayStation, it's pretty amazing. Does anyone remember PlayStation All-Stars Battle Royale?
Yes,
Oh yeah, I
underrated.
love that game.
Yeah, well, then this game celebrates PlayStation legacy even better, I would say.
Yeah.
The treasures you find are literally like artifacts of like PlayStation history. Like, obviously you find stuff like, oh, look, it's the PS2, but then you're finding some more weird things like this is the gun attachment to the PlayStation Move for the PS3, and I'm like, huh, that existed.
This is a game that has to be on this list, but I look at it, and because it is just so PlayStation focused, I feel like it should be a little lower on the list. Just for that. Because, once again, as we said, how many people really have a PS5?
But as many as should.
No, whether you should or shouldn't. I'm just saying, like, when you're talking about best games, how can you have it be a best game?
But that's like saying let's rank Smash Brothers lower because it celebrates Nintendo. I think that's exactly why this game should actually be as high, because it doesn't actually only celebrate PlayStation, it celebrates it right. Whereas I would argue that PlayStation All-Stars Battle Royale kind of botched its landing. Whereas like Astro's Playroom, it's like a brisk like 5-6 hours game. It doesn't overstay its welcome, and it's just fun. It's just a really well-designed platformer.
There you go.
Let's put it this way: when you guys eventually like get this game, like I know you guys are gonna get a PS5 eventually,
right?
Play it, and I want you to go back to me and say, "You're right."
No, I'm gonna come back. I'm gonna say it is good.
Be smug as heck. Nope. I do not care.
Here's what I'm gonna say. I'm gonna say it's still not better than Doom.
That is fine, but you will still have a giant smile on your face because of all the little references and stuff they have there.
Nice.
Like they reference like so many like obscure like PlayStation stuff like Tomba. Like who remembers Tomba?
It's true, except for the PlayStation diehards. I know of Tomba, but never played it. So,
well, that's the point. Like it celebrates like a lot of the more obscure stuff and the popular stuff. So
yeah,
so good on them.
All right, number 15, 13 Sentinels, Aegis Rim.
I heard that game was pretty vanilla.
If someone made a perfect spiritual video game adaptation of Lost, Lost fucking sucked. Lost had it was J.J. Abrams, no direction bullshit. Like, it had some cool parts, but, like, it ended disappointing like everything with J.J. Abrams. The only thing that interests me about it is the fact it's by the people who made, like, interesting games, but very divisive ones, like Odin Sphere, Muramasa, and Dragon's Crown. So
yeah, that's why my joke earlier when I said this game is very vanilla, it's because it's made by Vanillaware. That's the name of the developers.
As soon as you said that, I was like, you son of a bitch.
Yeah, well, I'm glad I managed to get a woo out of that because I don't think those games have been controversial. I think they've been like pretty well received.
They're like cult hits. I think with like the mainstream reviews,
like
they're
very
divided.
Niche. That's the thing. Yeah, like people don't really like It's like, should I get Madden or Muramasa? I don't know what a Muramasa is. Football time, and like,
right.
It's not something that people will go to, and Sentinel's Rim like is even more so obscure because at least with Odin Sphere and Muramasa you have an action game. This is kind of like a visual novel tower defense turn-based strategy game. So its genre repertoire is all over the place, but apparently from what I'm hearing, the story of it might be the best story of any game that came out last year. Oh. Like the idea, it's called 13 Sentinels is the idea that basically there are 13 protagonists, and for some reason the game is managing to tell an asynchronous story between those 13 protagonists. It doesn't all happen chronologically, like they kind of like mix the timeline, but it all actually makes sense, surprisingly. Like you can actually still follow this story. I don't know, I haven't heard a single person say anything bad about it. I haven't played it yet. It's funny because I own it. I got it on sale. But I haven't touched it yet because, so much stuff to catch up on. So
right,
it's on my shame list at the moment.
All right, before we hit to 14, let me go pee real quick.
You and well,
I'm the one drinking.
well, I'll.
Hey,
him,
I'm a
'cause
hardcore drinker
Jimmy,
too.
You and I both damn well know you didn't play 14, so me and him will talk about it.
Okay, so I'll just announce it. So, number 14, is something I have never touched. Umaragi Generation. Take it away, boys.
Okay, you are an Umaranagi generation. Umarangi. That does sound like a Pokemon. Umarangi. It's you.
Well, it's funny you say that because this is basically it's like Pokemon Go, and as it's described, it's like a Maori sci-fi world, and it's it's eerie because you're taking these photos in this really creepy looking world.
Yeah.
And there's no dialogue, so you're just kind of going with emotions. I'm fine with it being on the list, but once again, 14. It is one of the more unique items on this list. I'll give it. That's the only thing I can give it.
It's a niche. It's a photography game, and if you're into photography and messing stuff like aperture and like your focal point and all that stuff that people who are like hardcore photographers would know.
They love it. Yeah.
Then that's your kind of game. My extent with photography, honestly, I mean, I have a camera, but I'm a video guy, so for me, it's just pressing record and making sure that everything is in focus, and that's it. Yep. I like abusing photo modes in games, like Ghost of Tsushima or like Marvel Spider-Man, like just finding a cool freeze frame.
I've done that in Assassin's Creed Valhalla quite a bit.
Yeah, I heard Valhalla actually has a pretty decent one too.
Yeah.
But that's kind of like it right there. I mean, I will say this. I think the game kind of has like a cool like cyberpunk-ish look to it. And I know it's really hard talking about cyberpunk without actually thinking of that game. Yeah. But yeah, there are other games out there that have a cyberpunk look that are not made by CD Projekt Red out there. So, kind of like, cel-shaded neon sort of thing going on. So
it's cool. It's a cool look, and it's like you said. That's why I'm saying it's unique. I think it does deserve to be on the list. I just want to put it
good look. Look back.
Jim came back from his crusty corner.
Yeah, so we were just talking, basically saying how Star Fox 64 is the worst game of all time.
Well, that's obvious. Jim, you're muted.
Oh yeah, it's garbage.
Yeah, it's completely playish.
So yeah, but no, number 13 is a little more interesting. So Jim, why don't you?
Valorant, an online game.
Valorant.
Is it Valorant?
Yeah,
it's Valorant. Yeah.
Oh, well, shows what I know. Yeah, Valorant.
I mean, it's become the more popular. It's like I consider it like the Overwatch replacement to a degree.
It definitely seemed like it tried to be with all the hype that was around it.
Yeah, but it died. I think like it died. It has a community, but it's not as prevalent as like other like shooters out there.
It had a big push. Yeah, like it got a lot of. They clearly put out a lot of money to get a lot of streamers, a lot of YouTubers playing it, and even celebrities. Like, I saw people like playing it that I was like, this is kind of weird. Like, these are people.
They invested all this money into getting celebrities and didn't get you guys to play it? What?
Right?
I know. That's why they ain't here now.
If you pay me, I'm going to say I like it.
Or if you make
that
them
explains
pay enough
why you
for
like
it.
me.
Shut up.
But yeah, it looked. I'm going to give it credit. It looked cool. Kind of like a lot of those games. But yeah, it just fell into that, okay, it'll be that game that like people years later will be like, hey, what's actually a fun? I think of it like Titanfall. Like everyone who plays Titanfall knows it's a great game, but nobody played it, so that's the problem.
And 2 was excellent as well.
So, 2 was much better, yeah. And that's, but once again, it's like Valorant. They had people playing it. It's fine, but it's gonna die out, unfortunately.
It's like the hero shooter stuff is like slowly waning because. Once Overwatch nailed the formula, I don't think other companies managed to replicate it as well.
Right.
Yeah. Someone's got to come along and be like that thing that dethrones it with adding just that other new mechanic. And it wasn't... I mean, it could have been Valorant, but it wasn't.
At least it wasn't Battleborn.
Damn it, Jim.
Number 12. If Found.
I'm sorry. I don't want to see a visual novel be number 12 on a top anything list. Period.
But it makes a good case for playing the
Period.
Switch docked.
I said period. And nobody cares about the Switch dock. The only reason the Switch is even had half the success it is because you can use it while you're taking a poop. That's it.
What's the claim? I want to hear. Why should I play this docked?
Apparently the control, the point and click control nature works something better when
It literally starts it off that half the article is written about why it's a good case for using a Switch docked and using it on a TV. That's literally it. And if that's your argument for why this is such a great game, you ain't no.
Yeah, it's like at least if you like try to place a game this high,
better than
write a
Doom,
good argument.
better than Streets of Rage 4,
Last of Us 2,
better than Last of Us 2, better than Bug Snacks, fucking Bug Snacks.
Ghost of Tsushima, Ori.
yeah.
That's your number 12 there, people. The game that makes you go, oh yeah, I should dock my Switch.
Blink.
Number 11, Spelunky 2. I hear people absolutely love the first Spelunky. I never got around to it, so I'm assuming this is a good platformer again. I don't know.
It's also kind of a roguelike sort of game. You know, you die and you have to like restart and keep like over and over, like try to dig deeper and stuff like that. The thing about Spelunky, I noticed that like only the people who are like really, really hardcore into Spelunky don't shut up about Spelunky, and everyone else is just like, oh, it exists.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah. Like this has that hardcore niche crowd that when they play it, like the guy who wrote this says he has several hundred hours invested. You're in it, you're completely obsessed, but you're not getting that. It'll pass a lot of people by, and they'll pick it up and be like, okay, I shouldn't be number 11. Fine with it being on the list, but come on, man.
You know, speaking of number 11, we're actually finally reaching the top 10.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Son of a bitch.
Oh, I was like, yeah. Wait a second. Number 10, though. Among Us. Probably the game that benefited the most from fucking quarantine and COVID.
Yeah.
And this is the only game on the list.
Yeah.
The only old game that I'm like, okay, that should be on a 2020
Yeah,
list.
that's exactly. This is the only game that's going to make me a hypocrite from what I said earlier because nobody knew about Among Us before this year, or last year I should say, really. And I gotta say, it's funny. We talked about like Valorant and these other games that, to me, came and went. This game is another example. It was crazy huge. Getting people to play a mobile game that, had no interest in gaming. Because the fun isn't about doing the stupid little tasks or anything else. It's literally the psychology of you just trying to convince people you're not a liar or you're a good liar. Like, that's really it.
I actually compare this. I mean, like a lot of people said board game and stuff like that. And yeah, I get that. But to me, it's like a reality show. Like, like all those shows like Big Brother, Survivor and stuff like that. Where people basically have to lie and use like, their social skills in order to basically advance in the game. That's pretty much exactly the same thing. And I noticed that a lot of those people who were contestants on those shows actually open Twitch accounts just to stream Among Us. And I forgot her name. What's her name? The politician, like the AOC.
Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez.
Yeah, she streamed it too, and I think that was also like super huge when she did it as well. I mean,
it was like the third most viewed like single stream of all time or something when she did it. Like it was gigantic.
It's nuts.
And she had people like Critical and I don't think Ninja, but like she had some big names on there with her too.
It's just. Yeah, and honestly, it's the kind of game I think that if you have like a bunch of friends and stuff like that, just like to have fun. I mean, yeah, it's great. For me, I feel terrible because I like to pretend that I'm a nice guy, and I really, really hate lying because I just feel bad. Like I was actually streaming, like I actually was doing like a stream with a friend of mine who invited me to play.
Yeah.
And I hate to be the one who basically like, have to lie like, oh, I'm not the killer. I was doing this and that. And I was like, and I was able to fool a bunch of people. And at the end of the game, when I was like, managed to be the imposter and win, I was like, I'm sorry, guys.
See, no one expects Sweet Lovable Blade to betray you like that.
Whereas Jim gets voted out first.
I get
every
voted out
time.
immediately when I'm not the fucking imposter. It's like, oh yeah, Red's the imposter. I'm like, I was in electrical. I was fixing shit.
No, here's the funniest part. Like one of the games I played in Among Us, we had like some person who played this game so many times, and I was basically like moving around, and no one was killed yet. And the person was like, "Oh, Blade is the imposter because he wasn't like doing any tasks, and like he wasn't doing anything." And I was like, "I barely moved," and
Yep.
everyone ended. I'm like,
Yeah. But
Mr.
that's
Breaks.
a one I haven't touched in months already, but still, it definitely deserves to be
People
on
say
there.
it's broken now. I guess there's too many cheaters and bullshit now, so everyone
Probably.
says it got ruined. But
Yeah,
it had a cool run.
it's like it's in my pile of I respect but not like sort of thing. It's like
Sure.
I think it's really good for what it is, but it's not just something I'll like go back to a lot unless I absolutely need to.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like you said earlier. It's right place, right time.
Yeah, especially with a quarantine thing. Yep.
Exactly. So number 9, something that was apparently a social media phenomenon that I had never heard of, and I spend way too much time online. Baseball.
You pick a imaginary baseball team and you manage it with friends, and events happen, and it's all it's a browser
browser
fucking game.
simulator of baseball teams. Really, Polygon? I get the fun factors there. I'm sure the fun factor can be there.
Yeah.
Come
but the
on, number 9.
A browser game. A fucking browser game.
Like I never heard of it, and the fact that I didn't hear about it shows how little of an impact it probably left. Because I would have.
No one talked about this.
Well, but here's the thing: I would hear about Football Manager at least because I know there's like an audience for people who like to manage their football team and trade their players and stuff like that. I hear that crowd. I'm aware of it. Baseball is the first time I'm hearing about this, and the fact that it's the first time, I'm like, is that really top 10 worthy? I don't know. Maybe the person enjoyed that much, but as far as I know from this list, this is a collective of like a staff. So the fact they all kind of agreed for this to be in the top 10,
They all played it at work together, so they all went, oh, this is a social media phenomenon.
Well,
That
once
makes
again,
sense.
not to pick on her, but once again, the name that keeps popping up when we get to these kind of really goofy names, Julia Lee. Don't know who you are. I don't like you.
No, I was about to say, because you cannot play Doom Eternal campaign with a bunch of people together, so
Yeah.
it's on the list. Boo.
You can't have wacky things on a browser that nobody wants to open up to play. Meh.
I don't like to take the eye of a cacodemon. That makes me sad.
Number 8, Crusader Kings 3.
And I think it's the same thing with like Desperados 3 and Wasteland 3. All those games just like blur, pun unintended, in my mind. They all
It
come.
does, and it's very much, as it says here, actually, it's a good quote. It's a feudal version of The Sims.
Okay.
Okay.
Sure,
Maybe it
might
is
be
the
fun.
best of the
That might be-
Crusader games.
Yeah.
Does it deserve to be number 8? Come on, guys.
I mean, sure, if you like sim games, good for you. I just think it's a niche thing.
Yeah.
Like if it was like one of the Sims games, and I know those are incredibly popular, sure, but
Yeah, that would
that
make
seems like
more
more
sense.
of a niche choice within a niche crowd. Like
Absolutely.
double on the niche.
Right, exactly. Yeah, they're just stroking their neckbeards
We
here.
might as well pick a stupid ass pinball game at this point.
Hey, sir.
Weird.
All right, so number 7, an interesting one because it's a game that everyone I hear that played it say it's a masterpiece, it's fantastic, it changes the game, but only like 3 people have ever been able to play it because it's Half-Life Alyx.
Well, first of all, you guys are a masterpiece.
Oh,
It goes without saying.
Well, no, I know, but I need to say it anyways because people should remember that. But like I said earlier,
can
when
you
we're
just say
talking-
I am and Jim isn't?
that's why you get the payment. Anyways,
Wait, we're getting paid?
but like I
No.
talked about Mario Kart Circuit earlier, it's the same exact thing. Some people don't have the room for a VR setup, and I'm keep hearing that when it comes to innovation of VR gaming, like Half-Life Alyx is it. It's just a shame I cannot experience it, the way it was meant to be experienced, and that's the saddest
And I
part.
think you can even do it on any of those rink-a-dink VR sets or like even PlayStation. Like you need like what the Vive, like you need like the top of the line one to be able to really play it.
yeah,
Too.
it's
So you're making niche of niche of niche of niche again, but this one has a name behind it.
Yeah, it's like the 1% who have like an entire like basement like level of
Just
space.
dedicate, yeah.
Yeah, and I don't have that, unfortunately.
I-
But this is not against the game. This is actually
No, yeah. The game could be the best game on the list if you
I
actually
think
could play it.
From what I hear, it probably deserves to be where it's at.
I
It just
think-
sucks that you can't play it.
I think from what I remember, I think GameSpot is the only place I know that gave it their #1 favorite game of last year. So it got one Game of the Year award, so I guess it's worth something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, number 6, Spider-Man, Miles Morales.
Hey, this one's hard for me personally because I know a lot of people really love this game, and I loved the original game. That was my favorite game of 2018. I may be alone on that, but I kind of found this a little bit derivative. Like,
Sure.
I didn't enjoy it as much as I wanted to enjoy it. Like, they took the stealth mission with Mary Jane out, so it's just Spider-Man action, but I don't like Miles Morales that much in this game, unfortunately. And that was my biggest critique, is that... and here's the thing. Spider-Verse is an amazing movie. I think my flaw was watching Spider-Verse before I played the game, because I love Miles in Spider-Verse, because the entire movie is based on that character. And I think that spoiled me, because I was like, oh, this Miles is whinier and he's kind of annoying. And the fact that I'm getting to play a character that I don't like as much makes me kind of not like the game, even though it... Oh, and a lot of people say, like, oh, the gameplay is more refined, like, in terms of, like, the combat options compared to the original. I'll disagree, because you have a invisibility power, which kind of breaks stealth, so... I don't know, it just didn't feel like, that revolutionary, like... Because it kind of... I mean, the stealth missions were some of the best parts of the original game. The fact you just turn invisible whenever you want kind of takes some of the fun out of it, in my opinion.
Yeah, and as I'm looking at this, like, write-up here, like, it's written by a guy named Jeff Ramos, and most of his write-up isn't talking about the game, but he's talking about the fact that you feel this guy actually plays a role in the Spanish neighborhood. So I can see how he's feeling very, like, represented, and he feels a very personal connection with it, which is fine.
No, because the whole idea of, like, Miles Morales is, like, half, African-American, half Puerto Rican.
Right.
So that's very cool that he can actually represent.
What? Because he had the swagger of a black teenager. Oh, that was a beautiful review. But yeah, which is fine. But, like, talk about the gameplay at least and shit like that. Like, that's my only problem with this write-up here. Like, a lot of people I heard with the problem of it said it felt like an expansion pack that they did as a full-price game.
Yeah. Yeah, and you know what? A lot of people started saying, like, how Miles Morales, like, they just loved him as a character in Spider-Man and Spider-Verse because it was a great movie. And I think they're just weighing, like, oh, I get to play it now, like Jim's saying. It's more about, like, you love the character, you love the set. You're not caring about like, it's running on an engine of a game, even if, like you said, it's a derivative. Like, the engine's fine. But,
yeah, the engine's fine, yeah.
So it should be on the list. 6.
Yeah, I think it's fine for what it is. I just personally thought, it's kind of like, it's a weird thing because I was complaining about, like, The Last of Us being too long. And I actually don't mind that Miles Morales is a shorter adventure, because some of the complaints against the original game was kind of bloated. So I like the fact they kind of trimmed it and just gave us, like, like, the clean Spider-Man experience. I just didn't enjoy, like Miles' repertoire of moves as much compared to Peter Parker's stuff. And like, the writing wasn't as clever too. Like, the idea that basically, like, a lot of the lines can be kind of corny sometimes.
Sure.
But coming up from Peter, who is an incredibly cheesy guy already, and, like,
it worked, yeah.
It works. And with Miles, I don't know. It just kind of feels weird because, like, he sounds much younger, but he's supposed to be like 17 or 18. And I don't know. I don't think it's the voice actor's fault. I don't think he's actually, like, a bad actor at all. I think it's just, like, the way the character is written. And I hope that after this game, Miles is going to be a little bit less whiny and more confident, which is kind of what I'm hoping for.
Yeah, no, for sure. I agree.
Yeah, it's just, I hate this because it's like, oh, I'm criticizing it about, like, a character. It's like, yeah, but the character is connected to the story, which overall connects to the experience. And I think the story also wasn't as good as the original game, too. Like, the only bad guy that comes back from the original games is Rhino.
Yeah.
Everyone loves Rhino.
Oh,
Especially Donkey Kong. Like, look how happy he is. Bob Rhino's like, Rhino. Arr!
Yeah.
Top 5, baby.
Top 5. Here we
Here,
go.
Chambers.
Kentucky Route Zero. Something that I think we talked about with the other lists because
did,
it's just a final chapter.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
it came out in 2013, and this is the final chapter.
Whatever. People
I'm
seem to love
actually fine. And you know what? If it's a game that spans this many decades, I don't like the idea, but chapters to me can be justifiable that they are their own kind of like mini games. And if it is closing out the story and it is as emotional as it's describing, I'll buy
Sure.
it. And I could even buy it in top 10. Can I buy it
Yeah.
top 5? If you want to have the interesting list, this is the interesting addition I think you add.
Yeah, the console version also came out that year too, so it also opened itself to an audience of people who don't necessarily like game on Steam. So
Exactly. So I'm
Yeah.
fine. I'm fine overall.
And I think it was in their top 10 last time too, so it makes sense. So that's fine.
yeah, it's like every list has to have their hoity-toity indie game, and I think if we need to have one, that's a fair choice.
That's it. Yeah, exactly.
So number 4, game with all the hype in the world, Final Fantasy VII Remake. A divisive game from what I've seen.
It fits the mold. It is a true remake.
I hear the pacing's all over the place, and not for the better.
Yeah, I mean, here's the deal. I'd be more interested. I haven't played it, but I've seen all the reviews, and having not played more than an hour of the original, since I don't have a connection to the original, I wonder if I played it, if I would actually really like it.
Maybe. I hear the combat's really fun with the way they did the system. So,
Go on, Dan.
uh-oh, here we go. Here we go.
Okay, it's funny because I played the original FF7 up until the point where you leave Midgar, which is ironic because that's what the remake is actually covering, is the first 6 hours of the original until the point you basically go to the open world.
That's where I stopped too.
Yeah, I don't know why I stopped at that point. It's not like I honestly, it wasn't the fact that it was bad. It just kind of dropped off. Sometimes it just happens with games. It's
Yeah.
nothing against the original, but the point is that yeah, I kind of noticed like I played about 8 hours into the remake, and I kind of noticed the fact that, like you said, boy, they sure like to pad it with a lot of like random characters and stuff that I
Yep.
just don't care as much about. And there are some really cool things about it too. Like they have this like this crazy motorcycle riding guy who just like challenges Cloud to like a one-on-one just because he's kind of insane. So there are some original ideas in that game that I do like. And you know, I'll give it this. Final Fantasy VII Remake is probably one of the 3 stuff that was announced in E3 2015 within that and Last Guardian and Shenmue 3 that at least managed to achieve something good, unlike those other 2 that ended up being kind of disappointing. It managed to give like the fans, you know, a good Final Fantasy experience. I mean, 15 was also kind of disappointing too, you know, from what I keep hearing. So honestly, I fell off the remake. I know a lot of people will like die for it, but I think like you said it best, like the pacing is just all over the place. There's a good chapter, there's a bad chapter. There's like the combat is also kind of like frantic because it tries to combine like turn-based and real time, but sometimes there's like so many practicals going on and you have to switch characters on the fly and you don't know what's good on what sometimes, because as much as you want to plan an attack, when everything just happens and sometimes, you know, you have to do the turn-based stuff, like it doesn't actually stop, it slows time. So it's like, oh, I'm thinking, what am I supposed to do? Oh no, Tifa's dead, I have to revive Tifa. Well, great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's a vast improvement, I would say, over 15 in terms of like, you know, its combat style. It's still not there yet. I think they're very close to like, you know, like the excellent like, you know, 9 or 10 out of 10 experience. I think it's like an 8-ish sort of like out of 10 in terms of like
Alright.
quality, which is still good.
Yeah, it's still
Didn't
that's
really
still damn
live
good.
with like, you know, and apparently I heard that in like the first like third, which is what I played, is the best part. So if I played the best part and it's not getting good like towards the end, I'm like, oh boy.
Yeah, why ever
Yeah.
go back? All right, number 3, Microsoft Flight Simulator.
You know what? Honestly, as goofy of an idea as a game, the fact of what it actually does
It's crazy, like the
It's
scope
absolutely, it's a feat that, as we said earlier, if the Mario Kart game was ahead of its time and what it tried to do with augmented reality, this game is proving what can be done if you add in this like data loading, I'll call it, of real life things, and if that can get incorporated more and more in games, because like the person who's writing this, one of the things he talks about is the fact that they were able to fly over and have a drone take a picture of an area where they went in Tokyo for a honeymoon. Like, that's crazy amazing. So to me, honestly, I felt like this game, honestly, for just those feats, probably should have been number one. But I'm fine with it as number 3, because just saying all of what I just said, there's nothing that comes close to being like that.
But we're talking about like a game that's like a technical achievement. We're not talking about like overall like
like a fun factor too, yeah, in gameplay.
Yeah, I think being a number 3 in a top 50 actually is a very respectable place.
Oh yeah, no, it is. Like I said, I am giving more credence to the technical factor here for sure.
And this is honestly, this is going to be like my sure entry, like a game that I'm not going to probably play, because honestly, with the flight simulator, it's one of the most technical games out there. Like, you need more keys on your keyboard to know what the heck you're doing because of all the switches you have to toggle and stuff like that.
Right.
But the technical achievement of being able to map our globe to such minute detail, to the point that even like a graphics card like a 2080 will not be able to process everything perfectly, is just mind-boggling. It's insane. If anything, they get my tip of the hat. I think they deserve a hand. Bravo to them. Yeah. And apparently it's going to be ported for the Series X sometime this year, I heard. Cool. I don't know how that's going to translate to a controller, but
it'll be interesting.
Very, very simplified.
Just give me creams and skies too, people, please.
All right, number 2, one of the biggest hits, and definitely should be here, Animal Crossing New Horizons.
This is my fine. I mean, I still say, if it wasn't for the fact of the timing of the release with what we're dealing with globally, and it being what it is, it would still would have done amazing. But I think that was the perfect lightning rod for this game.
Yeah, like I think that's what's put it from being like a game that sold like 10 million copies to be selling 30 million copies. Like,
it's the best-selling Switch game, I think. I'm not sure if it is now. Oh, it passed Mario Kart at this point?
I think it did. Let me double-check that. I'll check that right now.
Yeah, well, you know what? This is the epitome of lining in a bottle, like the right place at the right time. Like coming out exactly where the lockdown began, and people were basically not allowed to hang out with people in person. And what better way to do it is in a sunny island with a bunch of friendly animal characters, and being able to celebrate, graduation there, which is amazing that people can do that, and I give total respect for that.
Yeah, I mean, as of September, it was number 2. It was like 2 million away from Mario Kart, but it also did that in a matter of 6 months as opposed to 3 years. So,
which is bonkers, which, like, I've seen like so many like celebrities like making their islands. I mean, what's her name? Brie Larson, like Captain Marvel, was like, "Look at my Animal Crossing island, everyone." I'm like, I know that person. She was in a movie. So it definitely like reached like a huge mainstream, and people bought Switches just to play Animal Crossing. And you know what? I'll say this. There was one game that came out during that first week of quarantine that people bought it, like, on March 20th, that brought me a lot of joy. And that game is Doom Eternal. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Okay, here's my real Animal Crossing thing. I think that they improved some things. I love the crafting. I love the idea that you get to form your island now, so you can actually like organize houses, so it's not just like placed randomly. Yeah. That's pretty cool. it's just very expensive to do it, so you have to like farm turnips and stuff like that, which I don't know, just takes kind of the fun out of it to me. And they removed some features like the mini games when you play with friends, like there's none anymore, and that kind of sucks. So it's like they take a bunch of steps forward, then a bunch of steps back. So it's like, it's a shame.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't need a chore simulator, but hey, 30 million people can't be wrong, so definitely should be where it's at.
Yeah, it's the respect, it's respect but not like category
Yeah.
from.
Exactly.
Exactly. And number one, a game I still haven't gotten to yet, but everyone sung its praises. It was Game of the Year for a lot of people, was in the running for the Video Game Awards. Hades.
Marvel's Avengers.
Yeah, this is a one just like you, Jim. I haven't gotten to play, and I really want to. Even if it's just for this is one where I'm like, all right, I got to see if the hype is really worth it. My only fear is it has been built up so much. I'm wondering if it meets. Go ahead.
The class.
Oh no, I'm stretching my arm. Sorry. Okay, I played it. I actually spent a decent 25 hours on it so far, so I definitely have a stake when it comes to an opinion.
Yeah.
Should you believe the hype? Yes. Is it the best game ever? I mean, like, no. I mean, I wasn't like blown away by it like other people were.
Right.
But here's what really makes it a fantastic game. Roguelites as a whole are a very repetitive genre. Like, you die and you go to the first level again. It's the same experience over and over. Unless you really like a game a lot, you know, in terms of like its mechanics, I think it works. Like Dead Cells is a really good example of a roguelite that I think works really well, because if you like Castlevania, like I'm not sure if any of you guys are big Castlevania people yourselves.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
If you like Castlevania, you would like Dead Cells, because Dead Cells is roguelike Castlevania. Like it plays a lot like Castlevania. So because of that, you don't mind the repetitive nature of it. Whereas like Hades is more of like, you know, an isometric like action game. But what really makes it stand out is like, yes, the gameplay is good, but the story is basically woven around the gameplay, because you're essentially playing the son of Hades, and you basically, you know, trying to escape hell, and no matter how many times you try, you keep dying and you have to come back. And I don't know how Supergiant did this, but dialogue never repeats. They have thousands upon millions lines of dialogue. And I don't know how they managed to keep like story beats fresh, even if I'm going through like, you know, the same beats. Like, for example, you think you've seen all the different like gods of Olympus who give you like gifts throughout the story. And there was like one point, you know, that was like I reaching the final boss and I die, and I'm like, well, there's nothing new this game is going to introduce to me. And then they give me a new god out of nowhere that I never met before. It's like, oh, this new character, like 20 hours into this game. There's something actually new to look forward to.
Yeah.
And here's the best part. Getting to the credits isn't the end of the game. I don't want to spoil why, but it's morphed to actually have multiple playthroughs, and that's the amazing part of it, is they give you reason to go through it again, even if you think you reached the end.
Yeah, that's what.
Yeah, sorry, go on.
I was gonna say that's what we heard when we had Pam from Cannot Be Tamed on. Like, she was going through like all. What is it? You have to beat it like 12 times or something to see like everything ish, or to get like the full ending or some crap like that. Yeah.
Yeah, 10, 12-ish or something like that, yeah.
Yeah, and she was on like her 8th time beating it. I was just like, Jesus Christ, man.
Here's the thing. If there wasn't a good story accompanying to it with like excellent voice acting,
right,
you know, with it too, like I wouldn't bother. And here's the kicker. The majority of the cast, like 95% of the cast, are people who work for Supergiant. We're not talking about like professional like voice actors, like, you know, I don't know, Nolan North or Troy Baker or whatever.
Right.
Like a really good example is the main founder of Supergiant. He's the guy called Greg Kasavin, who used to be one of the biggest names of GameSpot before, you know, the kerfuffle with like Giant Bomb and all that story, like that side took off. That guy eventually became the head of Supergiant Game, and he usually has like, you know, a very serious voice. And then I'm finding out, oh, so this guy was super serious, playing this like goofy jester guy who tells you how you die each single time you come back. And I had to check IMDb. It's like, no freaking way. Like the fact he can take, you know, those like like nerdy traditional like game developer type people to make all those like wonderful characters come to life.
Yeah.
Nuts. It's just nuts.
No, I think I will play it. I mean, roguelites. I'm not. I hate repetitiveness, but at the same time, I'm fine with the fact that I'm gonna try it. And yeah, because I'm a completionist, I'll probably have to go through every time to get the final ending because I am a sucker for story. So I am excited to try it.
Well, here's two things too. Like one, it plays really well, so the action is fun, and I don't think there was ever a point where I died when I said it was the game's fault. It was totally my fault for being at the wrong time and not blocking or doing something. And two, you don't have to play the whole game in one go. You can take a break every single time. You know, you have like a couple of deaths. It's like, okay, I'm gonna take a break and come back to it later, and it's the benefit of it actually being on the Switch. That's a perfect game for Switch. It's like, oh, I have to wait for an appointment. Let me just grab my Switch, do one run. I died. I'll come back to it again.
Yeah. Nice.
All right. That's a game that I would probably get on sale and get through it once and be like, all right, I got the idea. But that's just me being ADD and all that.
No, I'm ADD too, man. That's the reason why sometimes a game really has to have like a gripping hook and like a good story to do this. That's why Bugsnax did a good job, and that's why, you know, Hades did a good job as compared to something like, I don't know. I'm trying to think of like other like, give me a game that's like super wordy that like made you like give up. I'm trying to think of it.
Super wordy that made me give up.
Like as opposed to like, you know, as a game like Paper Mario for me, Origami King is a good example. Like,
okay,
you know, like mounds of text and like characters that, you know, I mean that's the problem with Paper Mario is that you have Mario as like one of the characters, and Mario cannot really be changed because he's supposed to be like, you know, the everyman, your avatar. So because of that, it's always like characters. It's like, Mario, what do you think we should do?
Right.
Yeah.
That's a great idea.
Yeah, no, I hear you there. No, that definitely seems like a game I'd probably be more because you can just get right into it too. So
yeah. So, is Hades deserve the #1 spot? I think that considering it's a staff and a collective decision, yes.
Well, like I said, I'm definitely gonna try it. So, I'll be very happy to report what I think as soon as I play it. But like Jim, I'm gonna wait for the sale. But like I said, I am okay with it being #1. I will say that.
So now that we finished this list, can I mention a few things that weren't placed there?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, just a few quick mentions. I mentioned Immortals Phoenix Rising earlier. In my opinion, I think I know that you enjoyed Valhalla in terms of like Ubisoft stuff, but I would say that Phoenix is probably their best new franchise in a long time, and calling it like, you know, Ubisoft's Breath of the Wild kind of does it a little bit of a disservice because it kind of basically means that it's a blatant copy, and in a way it kind of is, but I'm hearing from a lot of people that really want a new Breath of the Wild game and they cannot wait for it, and apparently that game like scratched their itch, you know, of like, oh, this open world game where you can explore to your heart's content. You don't really have to follow a linear path and you can do whatever you want, and it even has like a cool, like, you know, combat mechanic that's very similar to Breath of the Wild, but also with more like abilities. You can like get spears to like take care of enemies that encircle you, or like use a shield to bash someone. It's I think it's one of the slipper hits of the last year, and it came out in December, so it was during the time, you know, when the holiday talks are going on. So it wasn't as also Cyberpunk came a week afterwards, so who would care about this like mythological game, you know? So I don't know if you guys played a lot of Breath of the Wild, but if you've been a fan of that, I would recommend Phoenix for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen the same thing you just said, that's your best stepping off point if you want an experience like that.
Yeah, everyone I talked to who loved Breath of the Wild and played it, they're like, if you like Breath of the Wild, you'll really like Phoenix. I know some people who didn't like Breath of the Wild who like Phoenix. So
that's actually also surprising to hear too. So they did something right. I also have to give a shout out to Shark Simulator, so Man-Eater.
That looks goofy. It looks fun.
Yeah,
it's stupid, but you know what? Sometimes I want to have a stupid fun. Can you give me a stupid fun with me being a shark and just jumping on a boat and eating people? It's at this time of this recording, it's also free for PlayStation 5 owners, so
nice.
Just snag that, and I had like a basic fun with it. And last but not least, I think it's probably the most criminally overlooked game this entire year because I remember it got a really, really good review scores and no one is talking about it. Neo 2.
Oh yeah, it is surprising to not see it on there.
Yeah.
Because no one talks about Neo 2, and I'm still gonna say it's the best non-From Software Souls game ever made. If you like action games, like Ninja Gaiden, God of War, all that stuff, I don't get it. It's so deep. It's a lengthy game, but you don't feel like it's wasting your time. There's so much variety in the weapons. The Japanese mythology is like really deep and excellent. I mean, yeah, the story isn't great, but everything else around it is just it's just like I'm kind of frustrated because I feel like I'm the only person who's like championing this series sometimes.
Yeah, I haven't played that, but I mean, once again, based on this list, there'd be plenty of personal choices I would throw in there. To me, like these kind of lists, you're not going to hit even what you think should be some obvious on there. But
then the thing is that it's a top 50. You'd think that maybe they will be mentioned somewhere.
no, they had to save it for Bug Snacks.
If found, or I don't know what
or 4 games that came out many years earlier, or something like that. That's how they wanted to do
League of Legends or Hyper Breaker Ship.
Yeah,
exactly.
Shipbreaker.
Mr. Miyagi Jacket Off game. I forgot.
Jim's Krusty Corner, whatever.
Jim's Krusty Corner Simulator. Yeah,
That's number 0 because that was better than everything.
that is true. Or -6 because it has to be buried. No one must know, except for everyone who listens to this.
Do we have like the Men in Black thing that makes everyone forget?
Yeah, right. No, I show a picture of it and then everyone kills himself. That's how it goes.
Damn it, Jim.
Oh god, is that like a Death Note? It's a Death Note.
Yeah, that's the ultimate Death Note.
No, but that wraps up this list. And like we said, we're not going to do a bunch of these other ones like we did last year. Blade.
You get the idea.
Obviously, you know way more about these games, which is why we do love having you on for these. But before we hang up with everyone, please make sure plug away with everything one more time. Just get it out there. And if you're not already, please make sure be following Blade.
Yeah, I'm just gonna say very quickly, I am gonna do my own personal top 10. And jokes aside, I released my last top 10 of 2019 very late because work was really busy. But now I actually have all the footage I need, and I wrote my script, so I just have to record stuff. So my goal is February, so look forward to that on my channel. Bladler, just look me up. Same with Twitch. I also want to do a bunch more streams on Twitch, especially of like a lot of like games that I didn't really grow up on, like specifically Super Nintendo stuff. Like I never finished A Link to the Past. That's something I want to like repair, like
Nice. Yeah.
up for. Or like, I don't know, there was this like indie game, Star Fox 64, that I haven't really finished properly. I thought of maybe like also finally playing it.
You don't gotta play that one.
Yeah, should I not play it? Okay. If Brian said I shouldn't play it, then
It's
I should
overrated.
not. Yeah, okay. I should play like the 3DS version or something.
Yeah, that's way better.
Yeah, probably. Oh, you know what? Zero. That's the one everyone loves.
Or you can do Star Fox 2, the unreleased on the Super NES Classic.
Woo!
That's the real classic there.
Yeah, but the point is that honestly, here's the thing: like doing like the whole YouTube thing and streaming and all that stuff has basically gave me the honor of like coming out of my shell and be able to talk about this medium that I love so much and help me get a job in the industry. And I owe a lot of this joy that I have to people like you guys. So thank you very much for having me.
No,
And
absolutely.
like jokes aside, like you guys have been like amazing friends to me, and I will always cherish the friendship that we have forever.
No, same here, bud. I mean, like we said, we can't wait to actually hang out in person again some point in the future.
Yeah, and we say it on here too. Like we only, for the most, everyone we've basically had on is people we've wanted to have on. So
Yeah.
yeah, we don't get randos and just whatever. So no, we appreciate it, and we appreciate you taking the time, coming on, talking with us.
I'll try to grow a neck beard next time if
That's what I expect.
that's what you need to be.
Well, actually,
Step your game up.
41 should have been.
No, but with that, for everyone watching, we want to say thank you for sticking around. If you haven't already, please make sure you hit subscribe. If you're listening to us on iTunes, give us a 5-star rating or subscribe to us there, Spotify, wherever you can find podcasts. And with that, we want to say have a good night and cheers.
Cheers, guys.